If you've ever had tacos for dinner to celebrate, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. Today is going to be the Thursday edition for January 22nd, 2026. We had a rebound yesterday. We have some continuation of that here today. We are so back, folks. It's great to see a whole bunch of returning faces. We're going to run through some news here today. We're going to have 13 on. Got no guest here today, so we're going to talk about a couple of tweets. We'll probably end up doing some charts and ticker time as well. So packed morning for you here today. We're going to have another good one. We are one day closer to the weekend. Really, really excited. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Thursday edition for January 22nd, 2026 begins right now. Also, don't forget to hit the like. Thank you, 3D. Good morning and welcome back, folks. It's great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here today. Hope that you all had a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. We have a new day in front of us to conquer. It is great to see a whole bunch of returning faces. We start with Brent here today. Good morning. You are first, Brent. Really good stuff. I love seeing all of the early birds in here. I love that you folks get your day started early and then exercise discipline. Just super proud, super proud. Good morning, Brent. Good to see you. Big Dave, good morning. Welcome back. It's good to see you also. Crimp Biscuit, good morning. Zach McCracken, good morning. Peter, good morning. First Stop, good morning. Welcome. Brian, good morning. EKS, good morning. Solitary Soldier, welcome back. Good morning. Jim, good morning, early birds. Indeed, Jim. You're definitely one of those early birds. Good morning indeed. Azrar, good morning. It's great to see you again. Richard Judge, likewise, great to see you again. Yasso Fine, good morning. Great to see you. We should have got the entire island. We got more than he had ever wanted, end quote. So we should be all right there. Brian says, was lucky enough to be long the ES for the truth bomb. Made my week in 10 minutes. I had said here in the chat, were you actually lucky? I don't think you were. I really don't. I think this is an entirely predictable pattern. Since the whole Greenland fiasco started, I told all of you that it was ridiculous that we were going to invade or take it by force. And lo and behold, look what happened. I don't really think that's luck, Bri. I might be nitpicking, but I don't really think that was luck. Good job on your trade. And it just goes to show you that an entire week, sometimes maybe even a month, can be made if you're there and ready and if you take advantage of that. So what I would say for that, we're going to start with a 1-up today and bring that positivity here. Great trade, Brian. 3D, good morning. Welcome back. And indeed, please listen to 3D's excellent advice here. Like the stream right away. That would be great. Bernhard, good morning. Welcome back. Yes, that girl. Good morning. Welcome back. Whis, good morning. It's great to see you again as always. Excuse me. White Chocolate Mocha, good morning. Welcome back. It's good to see you. Tyler, good morning. Welcome back. Archangel, good morning. Welcome back. Judge, I love it. Like. Reminds me of the camel in the Hump Day commercial, except modified for our stream. I'll take that. Lost Penny, good morning. Welcome back. Astro K, good morning. Welcome back. Just passing through. It's good to see you, boss. Marionetta, welcome back. Just locked in more gains using the taco. Let's go, Marionetta. Really good stuff. Amasar, good morning. Lambo Rolls, good morning. Cam, good morning. Lion, good morning. Lion, I got a story that I picked just for you today. In fact, I'm going through some of the news and I'm selecting what I wanted to talk about. And I look at this one story and I said, you know what? Lion's going to love this. Lion's going to love this. I'm going to throw this into the docket here today. Glad to see you here early this morning. Good stuff. Welcome back. All right. Let's see. Cam, good morning. Austin, good morning. Jin, good morning. Yassine, good morning. JJ, good morning. Ed, good morning. Marty, good morning. Go Steve, good morning. Jamaican, good morning. Bob, good morning. All right, folks. Let's go ahead and get started with our stock market today. right, futures are green across the board ahead of Thursday's open. S&P futures trading up by 0.58%, Dow futures up by 0.35%, and the NASDAQ futures leading the way higher at 0.91%. Now let's take a look at some cues from last session. Energy, materials, and healthcare stocks recorded the biggest gains on Wednesday as all sectors on the S&P 500 closed on a positive note. Green across the board yesterday. It was a great thing. The indices settled higher on Wednesday, gaining more than 1% during the session after President Trump abruptly withdrew his latest round of tariffs. He stated that the planned tariffs on European Union countries will no longer take effect, following what he described as a very productive meeting with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.24%, and the 2-year bond was at 3.59%. And for several consecutive sessions in a row, the CME's Fed Watch tools holding steady at 95% for no cut in the upcoming meeting. Now, we have several stocks in focus here for you today. The first one's going to be Intel, ticker's INTC. It was 1.6% higher in the pre-market on Thursday as it projected to post quarterly earnings of 8 cents per share on revenue of $13.38 billion after the closing bell. So Intel reporting here today. We'll see how that does. Intel's been on a great run. For any of you that have traded Intel recently, I guess what I'd really like to know is, are you holding it for the print? Do you think there's more upside? I guess that would matter if it's a long-term trade or a short-term trade. Let me know what you're doing, if anything, with your Intel position ahead of the print here today. I'm sure others that are trading it probably would like to know that as well. The next stock on our list is going to be Microsoft, ticker MSFT, and that rose 1.06% after they announced a multi-year partnership with Mercedes-AMG Petronas F1 team to integrate its cloud and AI technologies across the racing team's operations. That's aiming to drive innovation and performance efficiency from the factory to the circuit. So we'll see if the F1 partnership here is a net positive for Microsoft. The next stock on our list here is going to be Moderna, ticker mRNA. It jumped 5.64% after its recent update on a cancer therapy study fueled by investor enthusiasm. The study, conducted in collaboration with Merck, ticker MRK, showed that adding Moderna's intesmeran autogene to Keytruda significantly reduces the risk or reoccurrence of death in melanoma patients. The next stock on our list is going to be the metals company. The ticker is TMC. It gained 5.51% after it welcomed a new rule by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration that modernizes regulations for deep seabed mining permits. The last stock on our list here is going to be Micron. Good old Micron, ticker MU. It popped 2.73% after CEO Sanjay Mehrotra, highlighted the current memory chip shortage, attributing it to increasing demand for artificial intelligence across various sectors. I wonder if we're going to hear the same thing when robotics starts to take off. All right, folks, let's get right back into the SPY chart here. Let's take a look at where we sit, where we might go, and what some of those key levels may be. The good news here with the rebound yesterday made a lot of sense given what happened on the chart here. If you recall, yesterday we talked about the market closing beneath the 50-day, and that really kind of showing us that our next step might be the 100-day if we continued to the downside. Of course, we did not do that. We actually held yesterday's low. By the way, big time shout out to Anne Marie. I don't know if you folks took any of what I was telling you about Anne Marie's view on the market. She was spot on, and obviously she had no idea that the market would surge after Trump's comments on Greenland. We had a bounce early. The bounce got sold. And then once we got the new information, the market actually traded up to the highs, and it's held that and gone higher here today. So just an absolute masterclass from Anne Marie. It's what we've come to expect. So hopefully that helped some of you folks yesterday. I know after reading that and after kind of discussing that, I was like, yeah, this is probably going to be an upside trade at some point here today. Lo and behold, that's exactly what we got. Anyway, back to the SPY chart here. You'll see that yesterday's candle on the up move, we actually tested the 20-day moving average and the 21 EMA. I don't often talk about the 21 EMA, but one of our traders in the happy hour uses this quite a bit. And noticed that yesterday, SPY really kind of found some resistance there. I noticed it was at the 20-day simple moving average, but also the 21-day exponential moving average. So this area here sure represents a key level for me here today. I've got that at 688.82. We're currently at 688.99. So we'll see if we're able to hold this area. The other thing here is that we've got our trend line. I'm actually going to extend this just a little bit here this morning so we can get a nice clear view on it. If we can get above these two moving averages and maybe hold above it, perhaps we can build enough strength to move through the trend line. One other thing to keep in mind from yesterday is that for the first time in a while, we actually had some pretty good volume, right? We traded 120 million shares versus 79 million average. So clearly, more participation in the SPY after the announcement yesterday. The question that I have here today is, can we hold that? Can we build on what we did yesterday, or do we just re-enter the chop zone? We'll see. As far as downside levels, I still think both upside and downside, a key level here is going to be that 20-day moving average right at about 689. I do think 690 might come into play again, maybe even 692. As far as the downside goes, if we really start to break, we really want to keep an eye on the low here from Tuesday. That low in here is 676.57. I think if that gets retested and broken, it's going to be time to probe some of these lower levels, namely the 100-day. And if things really start to move in a negative direction, perhaps that 200-day, which is down at 636. I don't have any indication that we're going to go there today or in the near future. But if we do break here and break down, it's not out of the question that we trade down to the 200-day. All right, let's take a look at some insights from analysts here. BlackRock maintains a pro-risk investment stance for early 2026, driven by the transformative power of artificial intelligence and a supportive macroeconomic backdrop. They expect the Federal Reserve to continue cutting interest rates, facilitated by a softening labor market and declining inflation. Specifically, they remain overweight on U.S. equities, noting that, quote, strong corporate earnings are supported by a favorable macro backdrop, end quote. However, this optimism is tempered by caution regarding fiscal sustainability and institutional integrity. BlackRock warns that renewed concerns over Fed independence may challenge that view. It's not the first time we've heard stuff like that. Just want to remind you folks. Despite these political risks, they argue that financial realities will ultimately constrain policy extremes, stating, quote, we think immutable economic laws are still at play. Well, that's good to hear. And any rapid rise in long-term yields would quickly impact debt sustainability, end quote. Consequently, they prefer equities over government bonds, keeping an underweight position on long-term U.S. treasuries due to the risk of holding long-term U.S. bonds due to worries over fiscal sustainability. Quick peek at the economic data here today. Initial jobless claims for the week ending January 17th. And the first revision of the third quarter GDP will be out by 8:30. It's about 17 minutes from now. November's delayed report for personal income spending and PCE data will be announced by 10. All right. Let's talk tacos, folks. Trump's Greenland framework diffuses the crisis and averted those tariffs after President Trump signaled a retreat from a planned European Union tariff, citing a new framework deal on Greenland. The rapid de-escalation reignited the very famous taco trade, validating bullish investment strategies and reversing recent market jitters. Tell you what, those market jitters, they are just absolutely great buying opportunities. They really are. Following a, quote, very productive meeting with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Trump announced he would scrap the threatened 10% levies on the bloc. The breakthrough, described as a framework for a future deal regarding Greenland, immediately eased transatlantic trade tensions. We've seen this playbook over and over again. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Hope you all took advantage of this for sure. Eric Thiel, Chief Investment Officer for Comerica Wealth Management, told Benzinga that the Greenland crisis appears to be diffusing, sparking a relief rally driven by the removal of global policy uncertainty. Experts suggest this turnaround reinforces the resilience of the current bull market. Gina Bolvin, president of Bolvin Wealth Management Group, also wrote to Benzinga that investors should not be surprised that the buy the dip has proven to be a solid investment strategy once again. The case for continued bull market remains strong, Bolvin stated, pointing to holding consumer spending and the stimulus provided by the One Big Beautiful Bill Act legislation. She noted that the market rally is broadening beyond the Magnificent Seven AI leaders into healthier sector-wide advance. Her advice to investors navigating the volatility is stark. Quote, "Don't blink or you'll miss it." While details on the Greenland framework remain scarce, the market shift is already visible in specific sectors. According to Teal, the gains have been most pronounced in traditional value sectors. I know Tim Melvin is fist pumping somewhere, including financials, which are better insulated from policy shocks. Energy companies are also rallying, supported by rising crude prices linked to unrest in Iran and colder weather forecasts. And boy, I'll tell you, for someone that is in the Midwest right now, the cold blast, that's like, it's cold right now, and it is about to get another leg colder here. And yeah, energy bills are going to be crazy. Quick peek at crude here, since we just mentioned it. Crude down 1.9% here, slash CL trading at 59.46 here in the pre-market. Following these developments, the NASDAQ 100 turned positive on a year-to-date basis with a 0.5% gain, just about 0.48%, whereas the S&P 500 index was up 0.25%, and the Dow Jones returned 1.44% in the same period. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about healthcare. This has been another stock. This has been another sector that you folks have been trading in. I know there's been a lot of gains in some of these healthcare companies. Really, really good stuff to see. So just want to update you on this a little bit. Stephen Hemsley, chairman and CEO of United Health Group, ticker UNH, told lawmakers that rising hospital prices, consolidation, specialty services, and prescription drug costs, not insurers, are the primary focus pushing U.S. healthcare spending higher. He urged policy reform to improve affordability and access. Hemsley, alongside executives from Cigna, ticker CI, Elevance Health, ticker ELV, and CVS Healthcare, ticker CVS, will be appearing before two House panels today on Thursday. Premium rates are based on two key factors: how much care is used and how much is charged for that care. When the price of care goes up and care activity increases, the cost of healthcare coverage necessarily follows. A Senate Judiciary Committee investigation already found United Health used aggressive strategies to collect diagnosis and increased federal payments under Medicare Advantage. According to the Senate report, United Health transformed the payment adjustment process into a profit driver, a use that investigators said went beyond the program's original intent. In a prepared testimony before the House Energy and Commerce Subcommittee on Health on Wednesday, Hemsley said that healthcare system is, quote, not as good as it should be, end quote, acknowledging shared responsibility while emphasizing insurers' roles in restraining costs through negotiations, care coordination, and preventative care. Hemsley said United Health serves nearly 10 million Medicare Advantage members, about 1 million Affordable Care Act exchange enrollees, and Medicaid beneficiaries across 32 states. Quote, though United Healthcare is a relatively small participant in the individual ACA market, we will voluntarily eliminate and rebate our profits this year for these coverages, end quote. Hemsley had said that in the prepared testimony. The testimony didn't provide details on United Health's rebate plan or what financial impacts may be. Bloomberg highlighted that the decision from United Health, the largest U.S. health insurer, could neutralize accusations that it's unduly profiting from taxpayer-funded help. We'll see how it shakes out here. Hemsley said United Health negotiated nearly $300 billion in discounts last year and saved about $35 billion through fraud and waste reduction. I would imagine they can do more than that. He argued that value-based care and Medicare Advantage models deliver better outcomes at lower costs, citing fewer hospital admissions and improved chronic disease management. The CEO urged Congress to consider policy changes, including site-neutral payments, patient reform, limits on direct-to-consumer drug advertising, and expanded consumer choice in ACA plans, saying collaboration across the system is essential to making care more affordable. Hemsley on Wednesday added that policymakers could also consider standardizing ACA broker compensation, as that creates incentive to steer patients towards plans that pay higher commissions. Standardization is the norm in Medicare Advantage by comparison. Quote, standardization compensation would better align broker incentives with consumer interests, promote more objective plan selection, and help consumers choose coverage based on value, affordability, and access to care rather than commission differentials. In January, United Health said it's launching a pilot program aimed at accelerating Medicare Advantage payments for rural hospitals. The Rural Payment Acceleration Pilot aims to reduce payment collection times for rural hospitals by 50% from less than 30 days to under 15 days. The 6-month pilot will provide immediate cash flow relief to independent rural hospitals in states like Oklahoma, Idaho, Minnesota, and Missouri. For those of you that are trading healthcare stocks, I wonder what your outlook is. Maybe this does or doesn't change your opinion, but what's your outlook on some of these healthcare stocks regardless? Is there more room to run in some of these? I know CNC is another one not mentioned in this article that has been traded amongst our group. Just curious what your opinions are on the healthcare trade. Okay, Lions, strap in. This one's for you. Goldman bumps its gold target and sees 5,400 in 2026. King Gold, as Lion likes to call it around these parts. Goldman Sachs has raised its end 2026 gold price forecast to 5,400 per ounce. That comes from 4,900 per ounce, citing strengthening structural demand for the metal. The bank notes that emerging market central banks, diversification of reserves, and sustained private sector interests as key catalysts. Quote, the rally has accelerated since 2025 because central banks started competing for limited bullion within private sector investors. Analysts Don Struven and Lena Thomas wrote in a note on Thursday, according to Business Insider. That competition, they clarify, has altered the starting point for gold prices, making a sustained correction less likely, even if financial conditions stabilize. This is important because for those of us that feel like maybe we don't have giant sacks of money like Lion, and we don't have a ton of gold in our portfolio, you might think, well, gosh, I certainly don't want to chase this parabolic chart. Instead, I'd rather add at some type of support level or some level that makes more sense. And we're telling you here that, we might not see even a sustained correction because some of the fundamentals are shifting around. Goldman expects emerging market central banks to remain a key pillar of demand through 2026 as they continue to diversify away from traditional reserve assets, such as the US dollar and euro-denominated bonds. Many policymakers in developing economies have increased gold holdings to hedge against geopolitical risk, sanctions exposure, and long-term concerns over fiscal sustainability in advanced economies. In recent years, central banks in China, India, Turkey, Poland, and several Middle Eastern and Latin American countries have reported sizable additions to their gold reserves, often buying steadily even during periods of high prices. Goldman forecasts average central bank purchases of around 60 tons per month in 2026, mainly by emerging markets. The yellow metals performance has been nothing but stellar. Spot gold surged 65% in 2025, the best annual gain since 1979, and has continued to climb in 2026. Year to date, it's up by more than 11%, touching record highs of 4,888 per ounce. Goldman said this momentum reflects not only official sector buying, but also the broadening of private sector buying. According to the bank, investors are assessing gold through a wide range of instruments. Exchange-traded funds have seen renewed inflows. Remember, I know this is talking about gold, but remember when we had Steve on from Sprott, this is exactly what he told us. This is literally confirmation of what he was seeing on the other side. And I believe Ed from Direction said something similar about some of the miners, although that one I don't have memorized here. And while demand for physical bars and coins has increased among high net worth individuals and family offices, at the same time, more sophisticated investors are using call options and other derivatives, adding to price pressure without requiring immediate physical delivery. Despite a strong bullish trend, supply dynamics remain constrained. Global gold supply grows by only about 1% per year as most of the metal ever mined remains in circulation, and new mine output adds only marginally to the total above ground stocks. Even with prices at record levels, production cannot ramp up quickly due to long project lead times, regulatory hurdles, and geological limits. And this right here, big time shout out for Lion, because when we were talking about the miners, he said something very, very similar, or if not the same. Okay. Next here, this is going to be about Apple. Let's see where Apple's at. Apple's currently sitting at 250. I know the last time we took a look at the chart here, 260 seemed to be an area that it might be able to bounce from. We have traded down about 10 points. On Wednesday, Deepwater Asset Management's managing partner, Gene Munster, said Apple stock could get a boost over the next 8 months because of, quote, two potential catalysts. The analyst's comments came on a social media post, after Bloomberg columnist Mark Gurman reported that Cupertino is preparing two separate Siri updates. First, he reported, is expected to be with iOS 26.4 update, which is likely to arrive in April. This non-chatbot update will include features introduced in 2024. Boy, I bet that's really moving the needle. This includes improved ability to search the web and analyze on-screen content. I guess we'll see how good that is. The second update will be much more significant and will be introduced in iOS 27 and Mac OS 27. This update will turn Siri into its first full chatbot, putting it in direct competition with the likes of OpenAI's ChatGPT. Now, let me pause right here, because ultimately the question of how successful this is going to be is, do people opt to use Siri over some of the other chatbots like the aforementioned OpenAI's ChatGPT? One of the big concerns that I have here is that, do some of these chatbots have such a good first mover advantage that it almost makes the Apple Siri feel like an afterthought? Doesn't even look like we're getting ready to get that anytime soon here. Just food for thought there. Sharing the reports about these two updates, Munster took to X and said, Gurman is right 90% of the time. You can take this to the bank. Gene Munster giving the old blood bank guarantee there. Gotta love it. If you want to follow along with any of these tweets, I'm going to go ahead and drop this article in the chat there for you. You can take advantage of that. Apple lags its rivals in AI as the Google partnership emerges. Earlier this month, don't forget, it was reported that Apple teamed up with Alphabet's Google to power its upcoming AI features. This has me wondering, well, how much different is it actually going to be? The Tim Cook-led tech giant has mostly remained on the sidelines of the AI surge that took over after ChatGPT's public launch in late 2022. In comparison, Apple's rivals like Amazon and Meta and Microsoft all poured billions into their AI ventures. On Wednesday, Apple's shares closed up 0.39% at 247.65. Again, we're looking at about 249.22 here in the pre-market. And as far as some of these ratings go, Apple is still one of the kings out there, folks. Really good momentum score coming in at 67.81, a tremendous growth score at 97, and the quality matching that growth here almost at 90.97. So, unbelievable. Apple continues to get it done. We'll see here if this is a big mover. You know, they not having like their own in-house AI, maybe that insulated them a little bit. I know we talked about them being behind, but they still managed to execute. They still have one of the strongest companies in the world. Part of me is wondering, is there actually like untapped potential here? Like if they release something that we can't foresee yet, does that make for another driver to the upside here for Apple? We'll see. We'll see if AI gives Apple a boost. Marty says Siri needs to sound more like Marilyn Monroe or Ginger. That's all it would take for you, huh? I'm sure they could probably work that out for you, or maybe even a third party. All right, I want to talk about another stock that we often follow here that is connected to the AI theme. Broadcom, ticker AVGO, is drawing growing analyst support as artificial intelligence adoption accelerates and hyperscaler spending tightens the supply chains. Broadcom continues to see rising demand for its chips as artificial intelligence adoption accelerates, TD Cowen analysts said after a meeting with the company. Analysts led by Joshua Buchalter. I hope I got your name right, Joshua. He reaffirmed a buy rating and a $450 price forecast on Broadcom shares. Broadcom, by the way, let's see right here. Oops, there it was. Where are you? Okay, sorry about that. Broadcom here looking at about 334 here in the pre-market, so pretty substantial, over 100 points to the upside on that target. Analysts are turning more constructive on Broadcom and its peers as the hyperscaler, demand tightens the memory supply. After an Asia trip, KeyBank analyst John Vin said hyperscalers are locking in DRAM and NAND capacity ahead of an expected 50% data center bit growth in 2026, driving sharp increases in contract pricing. Vin maintained positive views on AI and infrastructure-linked names like NVIDIA, Broadcom, and Marvell, among others. Within custom silicon, Vin highlighted Broadcom as a key beneficiary, noting that its chip-on-wafer-on-substrate supply outlook for 2026 rose sharply as tensor processing unit programs scale. As he said, a delayed OpenAI custom application-specific integrated circuit still represents a large long-term opportunity that could meaningfully expand Broadcom's AI backlog. RBC Capital Markets also said the AI cycle has room to run despite investor debates. Analyst Srini Pajuri said hyperscalers are likely to sustain elevated capital spending for the next 18 to 24 months. Yep. Told you this is going to keep going. The AI spending, the AI stuff, definitely going to keep going. He expects hyperscaler spending to sustain NVIDIA's demand visibility while noting its valuation already factors in some slowdown risk. He sees Advanced Micro Devices as a viable second GPU supplier after its OpenAI deal, but believes much of the near-term upside is actually already priced in. For Broadcom, the highlighted momentum in custom accelerators, but raised concerns over customer sustainability, valuation, and margin pressure. All right, let's take a look here. One more thing. This has to do with Microsoft. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella said the fierce competition in the AI sector is beneficial and that the technology industry will continue to grow as a share of the U.S. economy. On Wednesday, Nadella spoke during a recorded appearance on the All In podcast in Davos, describing the current AI landscape as, quote, pretty intense, end quote, but not necessarily negative. He said the influx of new companies every decade keep Microsoft fit, and he welcomed the pressure as a way to stay innovative. Quote, the way I always think is that it's always helpful when you have a complete new set of competitors every decade because that keeps you fit, end quote. He added, it's a pretty intense time. I'm glad there's competition. Now, Nadella referenced Microsoft's early days, recalling that when he joined the company in 1992, Novell was considered the big existential competitor at that time. How's Novell doing today? Novell later lost its dominant position and was acquired in 2011. Thank you, article, for answering right away. That's awesome. He also framed the competition as part of a broader economic trend, saying technology's role in the economy is also likely to expand. Quote, at the end of the day, when I look at a percentage of GDP, 5 years from now, where will tech be? It will be higher, end quote. And this basically just confirms pretty much everything Dan Ives says about tech and all of his bullish views on tech. Nadella said Microsoft's strategy is to focus on what customers want rather than treating every company as a rival, a philosophy he constrained with the competitive posture advocated by entrepreneur Peter Thiel. Earlier, Alibaba, ticker BABA, shares surged after reports that China might allow limited imports of NVIDIA's H200 AI chips, though the gains later erased. NVIDIA had tightened its H200 sales to China with regulators considered restrictions and domestic chip requirements. Alibaba was reported to be seeking over 200,000 H200 units. Alphabet's Google executives revealed the company needed to double its AI serving capacity every 6 months to keep pace with the current demand. Despite raising capital spending, Google said it would not dramatically increase spending in 2026, focusing instead on building more efficient infrastructure. CEO Sundar Pichai called 2026 an intense year for AI competition. Mark Cuban compared the AI race to the 1990s search engine boom, suggesting it could end with one dominant player and warning that massive spending could create a bubble. We shall see if that's what we get. All right. I do have some, that's it for the news here today. We got oceans of time. We can probably do a bunch of ticker time here, but before we get to ticker time, I do want to take a look at a couple of tweets that are floating out there. Let's go ahead and start our Street Tweets segment. All right. First one here is for Micron, and we kind of just talked about this in a different story here. Demand for memory and storage continues to rise as data-driven technologies scale globally. Micron is driving innovation to meet this growing need. And actually, for anyone that wants this particular tweet actually has a video with more context in it. So here you go, if you want to watch that. Hear more in the conversation between CNBC and Micron's chairman and president, Sanjay Mehrotra. I think I butchered his name before, but definitely check this out. You know, one of the things that we've been talking about when it comes to the memory prices here is that this happens. These happen in cycles. We're seeing an extreme increase in memory prices. And what that's going to do is it's going to force companies like Micron to produce more and overproduce and try to scale to the upside here. We've seen this before in other markets, and that's likely to drive the price lower. So I know that we were talking yesterday about how some of these RAM chips are just ridiculous. 13 showed me a picture of the exact RAM that he bought. I think he spent like $350 on it, and the asking price now for it was something like $800. Like, it's literally 100% more expensive. This is definitely going to curtail some of the PC builders. RAM, traditionally one of the cheapest things to go into a PC, one of those areas where you could not spend a whole lot of money and still get high quality, high capacity components. And that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. The interesting thing here is following along with what's going to happen, how much supply is going to get introduced here, and how is that going to have an impact on the price of RAM. That's important because all of these memory stocks tied to this and their runs, that might change. And that might be something that we can kind of watch and forecast to maybe play some of those memory names to the downside. So I'll keep bringing you information on this. This to me is interesting. This memory thing, this is not going away. And like I kind of alluded to earlier, I actually think we're going to have even more demand. Yeah, see, and actually right in here. So one of the, you can't see it on the screen, but one of the responses to the tweet that I just linked there for you, HBM is crucial for robotics for the next decade. Micron will be the next $1 trillion company. So again, there might still be another leg of demand here as robotics starts to accelerate. And it definitely appears that the companies know this and are at least trying their best right now to plan for that. Okay, really quick. Well, no, let me finish off the segment here. Next tweet, producer. Jim Chanos, famed short seller, making some more noise. Also, just in, true full self-driving will carry manufacturer's liability insurance, so driver's insurance will not be necessary. You're all being played again by two promotional companies, and he links Lemonade, ticker LMND, and Tesla, ticker TSLA. He quote tweets Polymarket here, who says major car insurance company announces plan to cut costs to insure Tesla vehicles by 50% when full self-driving is rolled out because the data shows that it reduces accidents. So it'll be interesting to see who ends up winning this. I would be curious, is anyone trading this? Is anyone trading the insurance side of this? It will also be interesting. Insurance can be very, very expensive, especially on newer vehicles. It'll be interesting to see if reduced insurance costs actually lead to more sales of Tesla vehicles. Curious about that one. So let me know if you're on the side of Jim Chanos here, or if you think that this full self-driving is actually going to make good ripples throughout the economy here. You'll have to let me know. All right, next tweet, producer. Next one here is going to be Gary Black. I realize Tesla stock does not follow normal growth stock norms, and earnings revisions and valuation matter less. But at some point, investors will demand that Tesla earnings revisions turn positive. Both 2026 and 2030 earnings revisions, the latter includes an analyst's robotaxi and optimist estimates, are negative. With negative earnings revisions, all of Tesla's recent outperformance is due to multiple expansion from 60x one-year forward EPS in January of 2024 to 196x today. Tesla future earnings growth remains robust, with 2026 to 2030 earnings growth of plus 40% CAGR, but it is still hard to make the valuation math work at a 2026 PE of 196, which is 4.9 times forward peg. Now, okay, so right off the bat, this absolutely reminds me of what people said about Amazon. They said, yeah, it's great that Amazon's getting into everything, but they don't turn a profit. They don't make money. And then all of a sudden, Amazon turned on the profit jets, and that entire thesis vaporized as if it was shot by some type of space laser. I would imagine here, if the vision for what full self-driving can do and what Optimus can do, if that pans out at even 50%, I suspect that this is going to change in a hurry. Now, Gary Black is much smarter than I. He's been doing this for much longer than I have. I totally get where he's coming from, but I just can't help but think, man, we've kind of seen this story play out before. I am not in the business of betting against Tesla and Elon Musk. It has not gone well for me. In fact, it's caused some pain over the years. So I'm not in the business of doing that. But let me know if you think, is the PE what's scaring you away? I think when we talk about Tesla here every morning, we really don't mention that a whole lot. It doesn't really seem to be on the mind of a lot of Tesla bulls. So you'll have to let me know. We'll see if this pans out. All right. Also, one more thing that I wanted to do here before we do ticker time. I definitely want to show you some tricks here with Benzinga Pro. So let me go back. Perfect. Thank you, producer. I want to show you some tricks here with Benzinga Pro. And we're going to start here with the scanner. I often get asked, hey, is there an easy way to see what stocks are in the S&P, or how do I scan the S&P, or how do I find stocks that are S&P stocks, or IWM or QQQ or whatever it is? And there's a really easy way to do this here in Benzinga Pro, and I just wanted to show you that. It utilizes our holdings of search filter. So in any of the search bars here, you actually have this holdings of tab. And if I click on this and then I select SPY, for example, it now filters the entire scanner universe for only SPY stocks. So once I've applied this, I actually have a scanner that will allow me to scan only the S&P stocks that meet this criteria. And furthermore, I can actually utilize the results list to build a custom data table for whatever data is important to you. Is it PE? Is it float? Probably not for S&P stocks. Is it price to sales? Is it any of the fundamental? Is it a technical indicator? You can add a lot of that stuff here. So once I've filtered here for SPY or IWM or Qs or Dow stocks or whatever it is that you want, now I can actually apply filters on top of that. Furthermore, by the way, filters on top of that, maybe you want to use some of the rankings that Tim Melvin helped us develop. This can be a really good way. Okay, so I've got all of my S&P stocks here. What's the best value stock in the S&P 500? According to the rankings, it's actually Mosaic. And this is one that we've been talking about in terms of, I think, some of like the fertilizer companies. Lion, maybe you were on Mosaic recently. Somebody mentioned that. But this right here, just kind of utilizing the SPY filter and the rankings filter here, I can very easily go through this list. What is the highest momentum stock in the SPY right now? It's Micron and Western Digital and Seagate Technologies and SanDisk. So, I mean, really easy to use, super functional. One more thing that you can do here. Let's go ahead and do columns, and let's do YTD. YTD change percentage. Okay, we'll go ahead and add that. And you want to know what your biggest gainers in the SPY are? Here it is. Here it is. You want to know what your biggest losers are or biggest laggards in the SPY are? Just got to cycle through this. Here it is. Into it. Now, CRM, Adobe, all those software names that we have been talking about getting killed here. So I know this is not necessarily obvious if you look at this, but just remember, these tools are extremely powerful. And even if we don't cover something here on a daily basis, there's definitely a feature in Pro that can help you do all of this. I use this all of the time, and I've found myself using it more and more. So definitely check that out. Okay, let's go ahead and do some ticker time. What charts do you folks want to take a look at? Someone suggested one earlier, but I can't remember what that ticker was. HCTI, that's going to be one of the movers, isn't it, Wes? Yeah, this is a penny stock mover. Let's focus on bigger stocks until we actually get to the pre-market pulse section where we examine some of those movers. Are there any longer or bigger stocks here that you folks wanted to take a look at? Brian, you were talking about OKLO earlier. We've talked a lot about some of the nuke stuff or the nuke news here. Okay, here's what OKLO's chart looks like. Brian, you had said earlier, OKLO has sold off the last two positive news headlines. You'd think that would moon it. So here's the thing. I actually think that this is not at a terrible spot. Looking at this, we've really used the 200-day as support here. The head and shoulders that we'd identified on the chart, I think that this is pretty much played out now. It sure looks like here, you're talking about mooning. Well, maybe that didn't come out right. You're talking about the stock going to the moon. It sure looks to me like a move here above 115. This is going to be one of your key levels. I'd actually maybe amend this to an area here. Let's maybe call it 107 to 115. This area represents previous support and resistance that also has some consolidation in it. We would really need to pop above that in order to do it. Now, why is this not responding to some of the news here? Well, I can't tell you. I will say that the people that cover this stock, they are still bullish on it. In fact, Bank of America, this is as of yesterday, Bank of America upgrade Oklo, raised the price target to 127. If we use the calendar and then the analyst rating sub-tab here, we can actually get an idea of where a lot of these price targets are. Bank of America, that recent one to 127. We had Seaport Global before go to 150, 135. UBS is really the only price target that, or a recent price target that's currently where the stock is right now. They got a price target of 95, stock's 93.60 here in the pre-market. So based on a lot of these analysts here, it sure looks like there's some more upside here for Oklo. Bri, the other thing I would say is that the longer we kind of hold this area and trade sideways, the more you're kind of compressing that spring. And perhaps that can help your, let's call it a moon move, if we end up getting that off some big headline. We also had some news recently, a lot of bullishness on this whole thing here. And with the data center angle not slowing down at all, I would imagine a lot of these names are quite similar. Okay. Alibaba wants to say, first of all, can it give me alerts on when Trump is going to run his mouth? As a matter of fact, it can. Why don't I cover that here real quick? One of the things that you can do is just add a news feed here. Then you can go ahead and add Trump as a keyword. And now you can actually amend this. We don't want this to be full text. We actually want it to be headline only, right? So the word Trump has to be in the title of the headline. Bang. Now you have a news feed that only returns news that has to do with Trump. Is he speaking? Is he set to speak? Is he entering the stage? This, that, and the other thing. And as far as the notification angle of what you're asking for, right now, if you click notifications, what you've done is you've turned on a pop-up notification. This can either be controlled by your operating system or just native to Pro. So you can get pop-ups here, but just as a kind of a peek behind the curtain, one of the biggest projects that our development team is currently working on right now is to allow more granular and more customizable alerts for you. So for example, if you said, hey, this actually works for me, but instead I'd like to have this notification pushed to my phone in case I'm not at my desk, or you'd rather have it play a sound or something of that nature, that functionality is coming. Hopefully we have that done within the first half of 2026 here. So I know that there was probably a little bit more frustration in that comment, but the reality is that yes, we can do exactly what you're looking for right here. And it doesn't have to be about Trump. This can be about anything. Furthermore, you can layer things on top of this. So for example, if you're more interested in the trade stuff, you might want to do Trump and trade. Now it's going to default to or, but we can change the operator there to and bang, now we're only getting news headlines here about Trump and trade as they're constructed. So yes, we can absolutely do that. And as kind of a bonus, this year, look for some expanded features in this to make those notifications easier to collect and then act on. So, okay, really good question. I know I promised ticker time here, and then I started babbling about Benzinga Pro. That's just kind of how it goes sometimes. Let's get back into some ticker time here. You'd also suggested QQQ. That's a really good suggestion because every day we take a look at the SPY just in general, but technology obviously leading the way here. Here is your QQQ chart, and this is I understand why people are looking at this, right? Because to me, this feels like really, if I look at the chart here, let's say October. Let's say the beginning of October. It really looks like the technology index here, the Qs, really hasn't done a whole lot. Yeah, there's been some oscillations back and forth, but realistically, we're kind of just trading sideways. Sure looks like we're being compressed by 629, 630 here. We had one move up to 636. We really couldn't hold that. In fact, we sold all the way down to the 100 after we printed that new all-time high. It sure looks like the Qs here are just kind of compressing. And again, this is, I think, what makes the market. I know that there's a lot of folks, myself included, that are and some of the other really active traders that we bring on here, like a lot of the T3 guys, we're expecting volatility. We're expecting sell-offs here. But I think that it's going to be worth noting that is when you see this type of sideways, like we are going to move pretty violently. I just can't tell you exactly in what direction. I'd like to get your opinion on where you think we're going and what makes you think that. Otherwise, I would basically just try and use the chart here to tell us where some of those areas were. Just kind of looking at this chart, we also kind of have like this trend line down here. Like, let me actually just draw this from the body. Let's just do this. So this trend line right here, very similar to the trend line that we added on the SPY. This also lines up quite a bit with the 100-day moving average. This is another one of those levels that continues to climb. If we lose this trend line, I could absolutely make a case that we're going to roll over here down towards the 200-day moving average. And frankly, if we get a move down here, I think we were just talking about how the market participants have been conditioned to buy the dip, and buy the dip has been working. I think if you get that move down, yeah, there's going to be probably a week or two where people are a little scared, maybe freaking out a little bit. But I think that a move down like that would actually be viable. Lion here says QQQ looks like it's bouncing from the trend line. Lion, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right about that. In fact, it is. The SPY's doing something similar. Can this get above the 629, 630 that we just talked about? That's really the key, right? We're pretty much right at, we're above the 50-day moving average here today. But yesterday when we traded back up, again, very similar to the SPY. I know in the SPY we recaptured the 50. This, it looks like we sat right there. We'll see if we recapture that here today. But you know what? I probably should break down the Qs more often. That was a really good suggestion. I appreciate that. Okay, let's see here. How much time do we have? 6 minutes. 13's not ready. We're going to keep rolling here. Okay, Meta. Let's take a look at Meta. And the other thing, in addition to the chart here, I'm very curious, who's a buyer of Meta? Who's a long-term believer in this? Who thinks that there is a long-term trade to be had here. And stop me if you've heard me talk about trend lines before. Look at this. Meta has actually come into that trend line. It actually peaked beneath it briefly and then recaptured it. Sure looks to me like 638 and 3/4. That's going to be your 50-day moving average, probably the next target. We also have the 20-day moving average, which has done a great job of determining trend for us. That's not far above there at 643. These two levels, I think, are going to be your key levels prior to us maybe returning to some of these highs. The reason I'm asking you folks about this is because I want to know what is the catalyst here that's going to drive Meta higher. I know Meta's one of these battleground stocks where it's like there are a lot of people that like Zuckerberg. There are a lot of people that don't like Zuckerberg. There are people that like VR, don't like VR. It seems more battleground like. I just wonder what some of that is. And then furthermore, if we are able to get above that 200-day, God, we have this nice gap fill up to like 750. Lion, I feel like that's something that you would be trading for. Just some guy in Tennessee, one of our Twitter viewers, whom we appreciate. I like VR stuff, which they do, but I have a feeling the Steam frame might eat their lunch. I wouldn't doubt that, actually. Matthew says, I own Meta, and I've been buying this pullback. 666 is the level I'm looking at. Oh, Matthew, I love it. I absolutely love it. Tyler says, I want to try those Meta glasses. So I am definitely kind of like listening and waiting that one out. I've told you folks that I would literally withdraw and throw money at a alarming rate at glasses that are able to track golf shots and read golf greens. And while we're not there yet, it sure looks like those new Meta glasses are driving a lot of attention. They do some pretty cool things. I would imagine if the wearables really starts to proliferate, Meta would be a primary beneficiary of that. I think that is I think that's a really good thing to look for. I don't know when that's going to happen. I know that if I look back and I go to the watch, like the watch took a little bit to gain some traction. Or when Apple first released the watch, it was a cool novelty. The Apple fan folks went after it right away. And then it slowly start to build. Then other companies came out with wearables. They increased some of the functionality. They made the battery a little bit better. And before you know, I walk around or when I meet people, there are so many people that use smartwatches and people that use smartwatches that add expensive bands to them and such. Part of me wonders if the glasses can be like the next segment there. And I do think Meta would be a leader there. I think if you think that's going to happen, Meta seems like a good play. Lion here saying, Ryan, Meta looks good at the current price. I may buy a few calls today. So expand on that for me, Lion. Do you like Meta because it's held this trend line? It's held this particular area. It's starting to bounce now. Is it something fundamental that maybe we haven't talked about? What are your thoughts on the earnings that come in less than a week? Wednesday. After the market next week, we get Meta earnings. That's going to have a dramatic impact on the price. Let me know what you think about that as well. Okay. Meta is the easiest by the dip, solid, no debt, and is almost a monopoly on social media revenue. So that's Critical Squid. Amazing handle, by the way. Are you long this? Are you buying this dip too? And furthermore, do you have any upside targets if this does continue and maybe take out that 50 and move to the upside? Take out the 50 and hold above the 50. It would need to do. Let me know. Let me know. Okay. All right, folks. Yeah, and the producer here he's with you. The Oakley Metas. I want to try those. Producer, I would definitely value your opinion on what you think about that. Let me know when you do try them out. Let me know how useful or what you see as a future potential for that. I am definitely interested in all of that. Oh, I got you. Great. All right, folks. It's that time. It's time to do our pre-market pulse. Let's see how 13's doing today. Happy Thursday. How you doing, boss?
I'm doing all right. How's everybody this morning? It's a nice, much sunnier day, even though we still have cloud cover. But
yeah,
it's bright in my room.
It's actually sunnier where I am too, although it's not any warmer. It's just the sun is actually shining today.
How's the market been behaving this morning?
Well, market's been good. We have some continuation from yesterday. We obviously we had the taco effect. I actually had tacos for dinner, which was fantastic, and we're seeing some more continuation here today. So market looks good. Where do you want to start? Let's just start with the movers and then knock those out, and then we'll come back and take a look at some of the other stocks folks want to look at. That'll work.
Sure. By the way, I had nachos yesterday.
Hey, all right. All right. Good stuff. All right. Now, okay, so first stock, I thought it was going to be the Lord of the Rings stock again because it's back here today. But we're actually going to start at the top of the list here with SXTP. This is 60 degrees. This stock was $2 yesterday, literally closed at $2 even. Today, we actually traded above $6. We've come back into the VWAP. We're doing a really good job so far holding the 9 EMA. Catalyst here, 60 degree pharmaceutical shares are trading higher after the company announced a partnership with Runway Health to expand pre-departure access to Aracota, one of its drugs. And I'm actually not sure. Let me see.
It's basically for malaria prevention.
Okay. Yep. For malaria prevention. Awesome. So good catalyst there. Not to freak everybody out, but we've got another 100% plus runner here today. We'll see if that holds or what happens with that. Quick peek at the short interest on this name. 4.24% of the float is shorted with 1 day to cover. Comes on an average volume that is just a complete ghost town, 66,000 shares per day. Today we've done 91 million. 91 million. Float on this 1.27 million. 13. What do you think on this one? What a monster move.
It's really nice for this stock because you basically have a drug that frankly should already be available to international travelers. But now this is expanding access. So expanding access into different markets around the world, that's going to lead to higher revenues. Great news for this company and their drug. Now, as far as the company's finances go, they do have 1 to 2 quarters left in cash. So they may have to end up raising some capital at some point soon. Maybe as early as today. Don't know for a fact if that'll happen or not today, but they are going to need to either pull in some more money off of this or raise capital. As far as the chart goes, it had this nice move up to 640 earlier this morning, about almost an hour ago. And then it came back in, and it hasn't been able to get back up to 640 yet. And I'm looking at the MACD and seeing how momentum is really starting to weaken and look like it's moving towards the downside here. So I would think that going into the open here, we're probably going to see a little bit more weakness and maybe the price come down towards VWAP. But once we open, it could be a completely different animal. But for now, it looks like we are losing some momentum to the upside, kind of coming in a little bit. This is one that I think could end up performing a little bit better once we open. But for now, it looks like it's going to come back in and retest that VWAP.
Okay. Good stuff there. SXTP. We'll see if we get a pretty good move on that. Now, the next one here, 13, it's back, and it's going to happen again. We're probably going to call this Lord of the Rings, the whole thing, but this is IO3, and the ticker is IOTR. Stock is up 137%, so 2 100-plus runners here today. Stock closed yesterday at about 293. Today we traded above 9, and we've come back in. Good news, bad news here. We've actually lost the VWAP on the trade back down, but the good news here is that we've held these pre-market low areas that were right around here, about 6.5. So not saying it's for sure going to go up here, but so far not bad. And if we see some volume flow in, maybe we do trade up off the 65 EMA, which we're basically riding right now. Take a look at the news tab here. I got nothing. I got yesterday. We had this PR here in the morning, and it looks like it's just kind of heavy trading here today. 13. I don't know if you looked through this. Did you have anything else that maybe I missed?
I was looking through it and to see if there was something that was causing it to move. The big news came, I think it was last week when they raised the $2 million private placement, or the it might have been the CEO letter to shareholders. No, it was from December. So the $2 million that they raised in January, that's what was moving it. That's what put this on our radar last time. But this did go through a 1-for-10 reverse split, resulting in a very small share structure of 644,000 shares. One of the major reasons why this is seeing the movement here today is because it's so easy to push around. As far as the technicals go, VWAP has been resistance for the past half hour, it seems. So we lost that after kind of riding the VWAP up in the pre-market here all the way up to 987. Once we lost that, we have not been able to get back above it, using the 65 EMA as support in the process. And we continue to use that as support. If we can't move away from this pretty soon, I think we may end up falling through it. Fortunately, the VWAP isn't indicating that the momentum is about to swing to the downside. It's already kind of made that move to the downside and been down there for a while. So waiting, I think for this one, we might want to wait and see if this forms a base here around the 65 EMA and starts to turn back up towards the VWAP. But if we lose that 65 EMA, then I think we're going to come down underneath, let's say 640. That seems to be the next, that seems to be the big support area underneath the 65 EMA. So if we lose the 65, it's going to be 640, and then we could fall even further. But
yeah,
I would go ahead.
I was going to say, it looks like 646 and then probably 489, just based on what I have on the chart.
Yeah. So hopefully this forms some kind of a base here. I think that's what needs to happen, because if we lose that 65 EMA, looks like we are headed much lower.
Okay. Fantastic. Next here on the list, Billy's all over this one. This is going to be CMCT. We've talked about this one before. Looks like this is actually running here on a recent news catalyst. This is also a low floater, right? If I recall correctly, Billy. CMCT, this is creative media. We closed at about 293 yesterday, peaked above 5 here today. Now, the news catalyst on what this is, CMCT closes a $44.9 million sale of its lending division, which generates $31.2 million in net cash proceeds. Let's see what they had $17 million on the balance sheet. They lose about $17 million a quarter, so probably a good thing. Probably don't need an offering here after that, or at least not right away. 12.3% of the float is shorted here with 1 day to cover. On average, the stock trades 2.56 million. It's done 7 million today, and as Billy correctly mentioned in the chat there, this is indeed a micro float. It is under 1 million shares. I show 861,000 shares in the float. 13, what do you think here on ticker CMCT? I know this is pretty much just a vertical move, so there's not a whole lot of stuff going on, at least with the morning candles here, but what do you think on this one?
Well, so that sale generating 31.2 million in net cash, it seems like that's going to help them for a couple of quarters. You had mentioned that that's going to, what I just said is going to give them a little bit of a cash runway, because the company is still losing money. So, and maybe they won't lose as much now that they've sold some of their lending division. Maybe that wasn't a significant cash generator. But without looking more under the hood on this, I don't know where this is going to end up going. I mean, the proceeds are well above their market cap, but like I said, the company doesn't make money. It actually loses quite a bit every quarter. Let's just go to the technicals in that case, then see if there's anything I can see that we're coming up
5
to.
tests coming right now as you're speaking, by the way.
5 tests. We just moved through the 65 EMA on the daily chart. That's going to be at 464. So if we hang out up here, maybe we'll use that as support. We're climbing higher into the 5 handle right now. Looks like about 625 could be the next big resistance area if we continue this climb here. If you look at a daily chart, that was pretty much a support area for a good portion of the back half of 2025 before we started getting this really whipsaw movement. So I would say 625, next big resistance area if we continue to climb. Okay.
All right, really good stuff there. CMCT, we'll see if the micro floater gives us another opportunity. Good boy, since we started talking about this thing has moved almost a full $1 already. Moved almost a full $1 already. Okay, good stuff. If you were already trading that, we're going to start early with the register rings. I haven't. I'm going to wait for the open, but nice vertical move right there. Nice vertical move right there. Okay, next here, let's see. PSQH. This is PSQ Holdings. This stock was 102 yesterday, barely hanging on to dollar territory. We traded up towards 168 here today. We've come back in from that level. News here today. PSQ Holdings Impact chosen as a digital fundraising platform for the Donald J. Trump Presidential Library. Okay, so we're moving up 40% here today. The inclusion of Trump will likely make this even more volatile. If we take a peek at the short interest on this name, 10.81% of the float shorted with 5.9 days to cover. So definitely have some elevated short interest here. Now, the days to cover is based off the 660,000 shares that trade on average. Today, we've done 30 million. So just judging by how much is actually trading here, probably won't have any trouble covering all of those if necessary, although that would drive the price higher. Float on this one is 40.4 million shares. So it's thicker than some of the other ones that we've done before. What do you think on this?
Well, I think if we continue to put pressure on the VWAP here, this is going to taco as well. I think with the way the momentum is starting to keel over, that we could be seeing the beginning of a move. Well, it's already started to come off the high of 168, but losing VWAP now, I think we could start to move lower. Next to areas of support are going to be about 135 and 125 before we hit the 65 EMA at 115. So just basically every 10 cents from that 135 area. But if we recapture VWAP, maybe we do we're able to climb back up higher, and then in that case 155 will be the resistance area that could also be the breakout area. So but I think that this is indicating that it's trying to go lower before it goes higher. So let's see if it gets support from 135.
Okay. All right. Really good stuff there. PSQH. We'll see if this rolls here. I just, to my eye here, 13, it sure looks like it does want to roll over a little bit. Speaking of rolling, how about Roller? Because it's back. ROLR, High Roller Technologies. This has been actually a pretty good trader for us here. This popped in the after hours, popped again here in the pre-market. We're basically settling about midway through yesterday's range. It has used the VWAP as resistance here today. It's really not been able to get above that, and it's right next to that round $10 number. So we'll see if either of those come into play here. Yesterday, after hours, they announced the closing of a $25 million registered direct offering. That has sent the stock higher here today by 26.52%. Quick peek at the short interest on this one. Negligible, 0.34% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. Average volume for this is 2 million. We've done 2 million here already today. Float is 5.92, so almost 6 million. What do you think? Are we going to have more high rollers made here today off Roller, ROLR 13?
Well, maybe.
I didn't screw that up, to be honest with you.
Maybe. I mean, this is so the whole move that we had this week was to the downside because of the registered direct offering that they announced. That came on Monday. And they basically added 1.89 million shares to the float. Mm-hmm. So that didn't necessarily make the the float so heavy that it becomes less tradable, but it's just slightly larger, but still able to be pushed around. Because that's going to still be under 7 million shares in the float, I believe. As far as so cash isn't a problem with this company anymore. But looking at the chart, we had that, like I said, we had that big move down. Actually, this started on Friday, and it continued into the all through the weekend, and now we're coming down to the 20-day SMA. Don't know if we'll end up hitting it before we start turning around here, which we already seem to have begun to do. And if we are going to climb back up higher, then I would start to look at some of the previous price action that took us up here in the first place. So this Wednesday, January 14th candle, we're coming up to some of the lows here in the pre-market. I think 1230 or 1240 might be one of the areas that we see resistance. Interestingly, you also have yesterday's open up in that area. And you also have the day before that, Tuesday, we closed. I'm sorry, we closed in that area. So I would say that this 1230, 1240 area, going to be maybe even 1220. I don't know the exact print, but right in that area, lots of interesting price action. I think that becomes something of a resistance area should the price climb up that high.
Okay. All right. Good stuff there on Roller. We'll see how this one does here today as well. For me, just kind of looking at this, I want to see this get through the VWAP. If this can't get through the VWAP, I'm going to be a little skeptical of it. Sorry, what did you have there?
Oh, I was just looking at your chart, and because I hadn't looked at an intraday chart yet, and I just saw that we opened in the pre-market here, we actually kind of went up to that area and got rejected. So, and then the after hours right at that same area. So yeah, I think I like that area around 1230.
Okay. All right, great. There's your target, ROLR. We'll see if we get it. All right, next one here is going to be GLSI. This is Greenwich Life Sciences. Had a nice pop here. This took us up to about $37, although we're almost round tripping this. We lost the VWAP. We also lost the 65 EMA, which we've talked about. 200 EMA next here at right about $25. Let's take a look at the news here. Greenwich Life Sciences announces FDA approves the use of commercially manufactured GP2 in Flamingo 01. This is for phase 3 for a breast cancer trial. So pretty good news there initially driving this. Selling off a little bit. We'll see where this catches at what support level, if any. 26% of the float shorted here with 1.83 days to cover. And by the way, the days to cover used to be double digits, like 20 plus. But because the volume actually ticked up on a regular basis, that days to cover has become into a more manageable range at this point. On average, the 100-day volume for the stock is 381,000. It's done 2.34 million here today. Float is 6.36. 13, what do you think here of GLSI? I know it's had kind of a wild pre-market here.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's not looking great. It's kind of given back almost everything that it had this morning. The next support is going to be down around 25, maybe just slightly lower at the 200 EMA on the 5-minute. We're certainly beelining for that level right now. So we'll see if we start to turn around once we get there, because I think that's where we're headed. This would be one that we're certainly going to want to wait for the open to happen first.
Yeah, no question.
See what it ends up doing. Maybe we do get a turnaround and a recapture of the 65 EMA. That's going to be the next upside area we have to take out next. So yeah, I think this one, just wait and see what we end up doing. The news seems pretty good, but also I've noticed that there's been a lot of insider buying by this CEO and CFO, Patel Snehal. I don't know if that's how his name's produced. Sorry if I got it wrong, but he's been buying, this his own company stock, for some time now. I think all through January at least.
Yeah, this actually goes back to January of 2025. He bought in January, again in April, then again in November and December, and then again this January 13, 4 times this January alone. Good spot there. Remember, Tim Melvin's lesson, there's only one reason for an insider buy. Only one reason.
And I guess he's been doing all right, because since that time he's been buying. This has gone, it's gone up over 20.
I mean, this goes all the way back to 2020. This goes all the way back to COVID. Same guy. Oh. This actually looks like a program buy.
Okay. He has. Well, then he's not doing so well if he started buying then, because he's underwater from his 2021 shares purchases. But coming back up, $40 could be the big area for the stock.
Okay.
Resistance. Anyway.
Okay, we'll see if GLSI. Yep. I will say pre-market formation here. Don't love it, but we'll see if it turns around and gives us entry there. All right, Court. This is also going here recently, and I see a number of you mentioning some movers here. We'll get to all of them, I promise. Almost done with some of the ones off the list here. Court, this is Corcept Therapeutics. Corcept Therapeutics shares are trading higher after the company announced that Rosella, its phase 3 trial of one of its drugs, plus another one of its drugs to treat patients with platinum-resistant ovarian cancer, met its overall survival primary endpoint. So you're going to get another trial here, in this case, phase 3, meeting its primary endpoint. Initial reaction here, super positive. This thing traded up from about $36 to $60. So far, it's retraced about 80% of that. We are under the VWAP, but we are still holding higher here by 17%, which is a lot more manageable. 11.73% of the float shorted with 3.04 days to cover. So it does have some short interest, but it's not huge. On average, it trades 1.47 million shares. Already today, it's traded 1.2, and the float on this one is about 78 million, so thicker than some of the other stocks that we take a look at. You got anything here off the chart on Court?
I mean, there's a potential for a large gap fill that almost happened this morning already. That fills at about 70, and the pre-market price action took it all the way up to 61.92. I don't know if this is going to get back up to 61.92. If I'm being honest, that was a pretty quick and low volume move. I mean, we had more volume in the regular session the day before than we did with all this price action we got here. So a lot of, I think this took a lot of traders and holders of this stock by surprise. That's why you didn't get a whole lot of volume. And once people started noticing this was high, they started selling. So that's why I think that we're down here, kind of consolidating at around $43. If there is going to be upside in this again, we're going to need to recapture that VWAP. That's going to be number one for me. So that's going to be up at 46.23. We could call it 46 and a quarter if you want, but that's what needs to be taken out, in my opinion, if we're going to recapture some of those levels we saw earlier this morning.
Okay. All right. Good stuff there on Court. One more that I want to mention here real quick. It's going to be that Raya, R-A-Y-A. Remember, this was the super low float that recently, let me get a better chart here, recently had a huge super spike in the after hours while we were on happy hour, mind you. That was pretty awesome. I got another one here today. Again, remember on this one, super low float. I'll actually give you the value there in a sec. Got no news here today. The most recent news we got was yesterday morning, so it sure looks like this is just kind of a trade again here. But take a look at the overall or the overview tab. On average, the stock trades 125,000 shares a day. The float here, another micro floater, 817,000 shares in the float. This thing gets pushed around a lot. They do what? Some of those camping power generators. This is one of the things that they do.
Yeah, portable power generation. They're used a lot with camping. There's this whole, I guess it's not really a theme, but it kind of is. It's something that we've explored in happy hour about, what might be happening with some of these companies, and as it relates to the affordability of homes. People can't afford homes, are going to do some alternative stuff like live out of a camper or a mobile home or in a campground, and that's why we've been looking at other stocks like Camping World, CWH, and Winnebago, WGO. We think that's all part of that theme, including RAYA. So if that theme seems like it's going to be strong, then we expect all those stocks to do well. It's not the greatest reason for them to do well, but it's something that we've been keeping an eye on, and it certainly looks like these are, this theme is working. So if it continues, continue to see more upside here from those stocks, including RAYA.
Okay, this surprises me. Even Lion likes this name. It looks interesting. He's normally not a fan of the junk, but here today.
Well, it's probably because he's looking at the cash, and he's looking at the finances and the financials, and it's not necessarily making a whole lot of sense for the price to be down here. That's one of the things that we talk a lot about in happy hour, is how this is trading under cash. So it's just not getting enough attention, is what I think it is. So maybe when it gets more attention, because look at how it trades when there's no news. I mean, it's a
ghost town.
Absolutely.
There's just nothing going on.
Yeah. So until this gets some more attention, it's probably going to do a lot of this, these random spikes, and come back in.
And that's the thing, because it's such a low float, like just one random volume influx can create this spike, and then it just immediately retraces it. So, okay, good stuff there, Rhea. Day trader, you were asking about ANET. So I know we take a look at a lot of the smaller names here that are moving, but ANET, one of the bigger ones, this is Arista Networks. The stock is up nicely here in the pre-market. It's up more than what's being shown there. Sorry about that. Up about 10% here in the pre-market. What was the news here on this? Okay. Markets, that was yesterday.
This is a potential data center play.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering if there was any news associated with this. Doesn't look like it.
Its largest customers are Microsoft and Meta. So are they getting rebounds today?
Yes, we actually looked at both of those.
Okay. I don't necessarily know if that's what is causing this to go, but they are the largest customers. So if they're having a good day, maybe there's a relationship trade there.
Okay. Day trader, did you have anything else on this? Tyler said ANET is up 10% in the pre-market. I feel like I'm missing something on this. Apologize. Let me see.
Well, you said tech. I think earlier you said that tech was, recovering or doing well this morning. And if that's the case, and we're seeing a recovery in the AI trade, this is going to be one of them.
Yeah. Okay. This is good. Day trader, I appreciate this. Yeah, I couldn't see any news for ANET. Okay. So I'm with you there. I don't see any news here either. But this is actually a pretty nice move there. It looks like it's actually being calculated now.
It's a very nice move for a stock that has over $1 billion in the float.
Looks like to me 140, 141 actually represents your next resistance area. We're basically right there. So we'll see if we can move above that. An ANET. Lion, you taking some of that, Rhea? Good luck, buddy.
140. That was previously a support area until we lost it in the beginning of November. I mean, that just stands. It just really just stands out on a daily chart. 140. I think you're right. We need to recapture that if we're going to see more upside. We get rejected there, we're going to go back down.
Yep. I think you're right on that. Okay, good stuff there on ANET. 13, was there anything off the list that I did not cover that you wanted to take a look at?
Well, let's see where it's at, because it might not be worth covering. Yeah, you know what? I don't think it is. NITO was the only other one I looked at, and that was off of preliminary data. I'm gonna have to pull up and see exactly what it was, but it was searching for a base when I wrote down here as a note that when I looked at it, and it still seems to be trying to do that. So no slowdown here yet with the selling. It's probably going to give everything back and maybe find some support around 175 where the 200 EMA is. But this doesn't look like it's going to be worth a trade right now. Maybe later, but it's given everything back, and I don't know if it's going to do anything today.
Yeah. This news here looks like it's basically just fading a ton of that, or fading almost the entire move. Okay, good stuff there. Also, Alpha Trades, excuse me, mentioning VG. This is Venture Global. This also traded up yesterday in the after hours, and so far it's actually doing a pretty good job holding its gap and holding the VWAP and 65 EMA on the 5-minute. Venture Global shares are trading higher after the International Court of Arbitration informed the company that a final award has been issued. So I'm not sure what the context on this one is. Venture Global had its price target lowered recently to 16 from 18 at UBS, but plus 11% here today. Short interest on this. I don't have a reading. We've got 5 days to cover here, but I don't have a float reading. There's 70 million shares held short. Oh my. Let me see if I can get a float reading here from Know the Float.
All right, let me see what my broker says. My broker says 470 million shares.
Okay, so it's still okay, and I actually don't have anything here from Know the Float. So okay, so good stuff there. So still pretty high. This actually has decent short interest. On average, it trades 11 million shares. It's traded just shy of 1 million here today. We'll see if this can keep running here. I would love to see this really kind of push away from this area here. I would say probably 1030, maybe 1044, 1050, even better than that. What do you think here on this one, 13?
It looks like, well, there's several things that I see here with this one. The worry that I have is that we're going to get a little extended here as the price makes its way up to the 200-day SMA, but in the process of getting up to that moving average, it's going to start filling a gap from October. Now I don't know if we're going to see that gap completely fill before we run into some resistance, because that 200-day SMA is going to be one spot. Another spot just above it's going to be at 12. We were getting support in August before we ended up losing it in October. So 200-day SMA. $12, both before we even fill the gap. So be curious to see what we end up getting once we open here today, if we end up climbing up to that height or not. Now, let's say we do end up filling the gap. Where do we go next? Well, still, the RSI is pretty extended. I think that if we try to fill this gap or hit some of those levels I just mentioned, we're going to find some resistance that's going to end up taking us lower, maybe initially, and over the course of several days, maybe cool off the RSI. And then there might be another attempt to push through the 200-day SMA. But for now, I'm just looking at several areas of resistance. I don't know how much higher it's going to go, if it's going to get through that 200 or not. But just keep in mind that this RSI is getting to be pretty extended, and we're not too far away from being oversold.
Okay.
Overbottoming.
Really good breakdown. We'll see what we get here on VG. I'm going to flip over to my main workspace 13. We've got about a minute till we open up here. I'm going to let you run through this. I'm going to step away for just 1 sec. I'll put SXTP on the screen here. Here's what we got. Okay, 13, take it away. I will be right back.
SXTP, well, this is not falling down. This actually is pushing higher now as we approach the open. We have 30 seconds left. With this climb into the open, we might take out that 640. even before we open here. And if we do, we also have this 65 EMA coming up to meet the VWAP. That tends to be a good sign. Let me see where this ends up going if we break past 640. We do have a resistance area at around 740. It looks to be one of the next areas beyond 640. I would kind of pin the next resistance area on that. And here we are, folks. We are off. Let's see what we end up getting here with this one. So climbing higher, SXTP. There we go, 664, new session high. Let's see if we get up to the 740 area. Looks like there's a seller in the way at 677. We need to see a good amount of volume to take that one out. Let's look at some of these other ones here. Lord of the Rings initially going lower, but hasn't broken beneath 630 yet. PSQH not doing a whole lot out of the gate here. NITO trying to turn around. CMCT, this was coming off that high in the pre-market. Now it's trying to recapture the VWAP.
Dude, ANET.
ANET.
Look at ANET. This just that we were talking about this being higher by about 10%, another 3% right out of the open. Big move here in ANET today.
Some of these other ones we're just waiting for. CORT, Corcept, that ended up going lower. VG, Venture Global, this one really selling off. This one went right through some support areas and the 200 EMA. We are down at around 930, finding support there.
Okay, VG. Wow, you're right. That's a big pull there. You guys were also mentioning Ondas earlier. That's down 1% here. You folks were talking about an offering.
SXTP. Sorry to interrupt you. SXTP right to that area we were talking about. 729 is now the current high. We're looking for. There it is. So it hit that target and it's still going. Jesus.
Yeah. So 1.6 on this Form 42 here.
Yeah, so SXTP, this thing just shot all the way up to 789, and now we're getting some selling pressure.
Okay. Let me go to that here.
Looks like everything that we were looking at is starting to sell off now. Corcept's turning around, got close to the 65 EMA. That's trying to come back up to the VWAP, which is at 45. Looks like we're getting a rebound in some of these. VG now getting some buyers to step in after hitting the 200 EMA.
Really quick on Ondas. Yeah, it looks like, Zach, you're right there. 1.6 million offering. I'll be honest, this action so far, not terrible. Also a sale of those 2,500 WASP drones. Remember, when we had Eric on, he told us that part of the reason he's doing these offerings is so that they can continue to acquire these companies and then sell drones from it. That's exactly what he's doing with that WASP order. But so far, given the fact that there's an offering here, not a terrible reaction. We'll see how Ondas trades here in that one for the long haul. Is anyone buying the pull on this? Let me know. And Robert mentioning that the memory stocks are dropping. I better pinch myself to make sure that's the case. Let's take a look. SanDisk, this is down 3% here. Let's take a look at Micron. Micron down, well, this is actually not as bad. Micron down almost 1% here. Western Digital, remember these were all your SPY leaders that we took a look at earlier. Western Digital down to the 200 EMA. You're right, all of these pulling back a little bit.
ANET still hasn't gone much higher after that first move here.
144.5.
Yep. We are trying to see if Corcept is going to turn around or not. VG, this thing just got absolutely hammered.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. So really quickly here, Bob, what were you saying me for? Which I might have asked a couple of questions there. Zach said I would buy more Ondas if it holds 1170, if it goes down and holds there. Voodoo saying I got a put sell on Ondas. I expect it to drift lower. Okay. Lion is buying the MU pullback. Sorry, which one? Lord of the Rings, right? IOTR?
Yeah, that one dropped down to about 580 and then reversed, recaptured this the 65 EMA and went all the way up to VWAP. Still not able to clear VWAP though.
This IOTR, this actually looks like it's trying to flirt with that $7 level. Ooh, big pull there. All right, that actually lost the 75 EMA. 65. Jeez, sorry. MRAM getting mentioned here by Thinking About It.
I got one trade there in GLSI.
GLSI, let's do it. Good job.
That's turning. It's looking like it's turning around, but here's the problem I have with it. It's very, very spready. I think you've got like 40 to 50 cent spreads in this. So if you're going to try this one, be careful. I think this you still might be able to get up to 29.50, but and it looks like it's turning around. It got some pretty good support from the 65 EMA, but volume's not great. It's really spread. So if you're going to try and trade this, just be careful. It might be able to get up to $30 again, but just a word of caution on this one.
This nice bounce there off the 65 EMA though there, so not terrible for a trade. Several of you folks are mentioning Rich Tech Robotics. This had a nice little spike out of the gate. Did this happen on news? Wednesday? No, so this was just yesterday morning. So that just looks like trading action here today. By the way, NASDAQ here, actually the weakest performing index. SPY's holding in there. Dow's actually at the highs, but NASDAQ pulling back a little bit. And then you folks are also mentioning here, nuclear is going. So we actually took a look at OKLO earlier. Looks like that is pushing higher here. It's holding this morning gap, or at least it's trying to. How about SMR? SMR having a better day here today. I'd actually watch 21 on SMR.
CMCT bounced 35%. Did you get that buy low, sell high? Right down at the I think the 15 EMA, or where was your entry? That was a nice little move there, unless you're just talking about how much it's up right now. IOTR here, by the way, that's trying to hold 6. I know that pulled pretty violently, but it is trying to hold 6. Kathy, good morning. I'm sorry I missed this earlier. You had said QS earlier. This spiked out of the open here. What does the daily chart look like? Okay. So this 1179 area looks like we probably want to get over that. Did we have news on QS this morning? No. This went up to its 50-day SMA and was rejected. So that's the price action we're getting today.
What value do you have for that 50 SMA?
1182.
Okay, amazing. The 65 EMA on the daily is at 1179, so that 1180-ish area right in there, that's going to be key.
Yeah, batteries, folks. Batteries are going to be a theme.
Shout out to you for being on that one early and telling the group about that. Still looking for battery plays because of your call.
Let me pull up the watch list here and see how that's looking today. So battery watch list looking pretty good. Most of them are up. Largest winners are going to be American Battery Tech, ABAT, NVX, Novonix. That's up over 4%. You also have Enphase and Innovix, and Lithium Americas also up as well, and SLDP, Solid Power. All these up over 2%.
Okay, that battery theme trucking right along here, 13. Big Dave is on SXTP, so a little bit of the pullback here. We almost got to that impulse candle from the late morning there.
Big Dave.
Big Dave, what is the... are you just looking for this to really just kind of trade back up and take out 8, I'm guessing? Oh, excuse me.
Corcept's trying to turn around here. This thing is also kind of spread. Be careful if you're going to try and trade this. Maybe it gets a move up to VWAP, but it's like I said, it's very spread. You're looking at like 30, 40 cent spreads on this one.
NUAI, day trader, I think you mentioned this one too. I'm sorry, I'm getting to some of these a little bit late. NUAI popped off the open here. This is up 20% almost.
New highs in ANET. Looking for 145.
I'll tell you what, of all of the pre-market stock, that was probably just the best move here. Yeah, and some more continued move on this.
Here we go. All right.
Hey, voucher trade on SXTP. Good stuff, man. Here, register ring for you. Bang.
Well done. That was a nice hold of the VWAP too.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to hold up here, but now, but it was a moment ago. Else is looking good here.
IBRX, BG,
GLSI.
Sorry, VG still holding that 200 EMA. That GLSI you have, huh?
Yeah, GLSI that ended up getting pretty close to 30. It's still got to exercise caution on this one because of how spready it is, but still ended up hitting some of the level, or getting pretty close to some of the levels we're looking for here. I was mentioning maybe this goes up to 30, but I don't know what's going to happen once it does. Could get a pullback after we make that print. Or we can keep going. Who knows?
And really quickly, regarding the spreadiness there, if the spread were, I hesitate to use the word scares you away, but if you just don't care much for those large spready stocks, one of the things you can do is just reduce your position size a little bit to just make it a little bit easier to trade.
Yeah, all I'm saying is just be careful. I'm not trying to scare anybody away from it.
Yeah, no. I've said that wasn't directed at you. I'm just saying the spreadiness, because I don't like trading those big spreads either. I feel like I have less control there, if you will. I bought pre-market SXTP at 568 and sold at 650. Thanks, cash out. Hey,
Nice.
anytime that you press the buttons, even if it's a stock that we talk about and prepare, if you press the buttons, you assume the risk, you execute the trade. The pat on the back is yours, brother. Really good stuff on that one. There's your register ring for you.
Getting to mention that roller was trying to get going here. It initially sold out of the gate, went down to 924. Now it's trying to come back up to the 200 EMA on the 5-minute. That's the last moving average in its way. It did recapture all the other ones, including the 65. So 1031. That's the next level it's got to take out.
Yeah, and I've got VWAP here, 1047. It's used the VWAP as resistance in the pre-market, so we would really like to see that get challenged here. And then, you know what? I wanted to highlight something else, but we were rolling so much earlier, I missed it. Let me see if I can scroll back up here real quick. Then we'll check in on some of these stocks.
Okay.
It was Lion that I'm looking for here. Lion gave a great plan here that I wanted to highlight. Let's see if I can. Here we go. Lion's trades here today. You guys ask him all of the time. Micron, IREN, CoreWeave, Meta, and Microsoft calls that are expiring February 20th. He goes on to say, the thesis is that they will start running up, going to earnings, and then I will sell most of them before the earnings. So you're looking on those stocks here. Again, here are those stocks. You're looking to play these into their earnings, but not holding them for the binary event. By the way, that roller rejected again off that little curl. That really is going to need to get it back above VWAP before that starts building. Lion, I appreciate you laying out that trade plan there.
CMCT is trying to recapture its VWAP. I don't know if it's going to do it. We need to get some more volume here to take out these sellers that are in the way. But it's trying.
And then really quick regarding NUAI. Okay, day trader, thank you. I always am asking for these types of things too. Day trader here saying, thanks. New all-time high. I think we see 10 to 12. So day trader here, a price target. I hesitate to call it a price target, but don't know what the better term is. 10 to 12. That takes us almost up to that initial candle that we have here back from December 10th, 2024. So you're actually expecting a little bit more there. We'll see if we get that. And then Netflix. I know several of you folks have mentioned this. I'm sorry, I was trying to save this one because I do want to change to the bigger chart here for Netflix. Let's talk about that here real quick. Okay, here's your Netflix chart. Now, yesterday looked like this thing was going to bounce more, trading down here today, down 1.73%. The one area, it's the same numbers that we were talking about yesterday. We talked about holding 80 to 81. Look where this thing bottomed, literally bottomed right there at 80. So the way I'd be looking at a trade here, if it breaks this low, I think it probably hunts a lower low. It's possible that it challenges this and holds it here. But again, I reiterate, the plan here on Netflix probably going to be easier to trade once the Warner Brothers Discovery deal is out of the way. When that is done and wrapped up, this will probably be easier. Otherwise, I'm still looking at low 80s here. 13, I think we had 75 to 77 as the next level beneath that. I can't remember what exactly the number that you said.
I don't necessarily believe that it's going to trade better once we get that. Once Warner Brothers gets that deal, because there's going to be a whole regulatory approval process that both companies are going to have to go through. That could get pretty messy.
Part of the whole deal getting figured out?
What do you mean?
Like going through the regulatory process, having the merger.
No, no.
Okay.
The deal has to be accepted first. And then you're going to have
The regulatory hurdles after
well,
that.
it's not just with America; it's with other countries too.
Okay, so you're saying that this is a kind of like there's going to be a longer term uncertainty here with Netflix. And
yeah, I think the acceptance of the deal is just going to be the start of another phase of this issue. Now we might get I still think that we're going to get some upside movement here. Maybe it takes us back up to 100, but I also think that we're going to probably end up seeing a lot of issues arising out of the regulatory process. So it could create a lot of back and forth, maybe even push the stock down the longer it goes on. So just kind of outlining some potential headwinds I see. I don't think that the upside is going to just suddenly be there once the deal gets approved or accepted. There's that whole regulatory process that could make things get really ugly.
Okay. And furthermore, just kind of looking at the chart here, the 20-day has really determined whether or not the stock's going to go higher yet. That value is at 90.40, and we're not there yet. So if we can get above that, maybe then we'll have some movement there on Netflix to the upside. We'll see.
CMCT, this one of the movers from this morning that sold off out of the open, recaptured $4 and the VWAP, trying to push higher into $5 now.
Okay. Here is your CMCT chart. Also, really quick here, Brian out on Rhea. So nice. First of all, I will say, just given what this company is, the low float, the whole 9 yards here, I actually think trading this back and forth is probably better. Really, that all comes down to your risk. Nice little pop off that double bottom there. Good job selling into that one. And then Raz asking about gold. Remember, we talked about gold earlier. We talked about Goldman Sachs upping their 2026 price target to 5,400 from 4,900. Gold here trading a little bit higher, although still under yesterday's lows. I'm looking at GLD, the Spider Gold ETF.
Did they say why?
Yeah, let me pull that up here real quick. Sorry, one sec. I don't have that here. They said there were a couple of reasons that they said for that. Let me pull it up and I'll actually quote it instead of just trying to guess it. And then for anyone that wants this gold article, let me also drop this in the chat here for you. Okay, so here's what they cite, 13. First of all, persistent central bank demand. They argue that this is going to be led by emerging markets as emerging markets continue to add the actual metal to the balance sheet there. Central banks like China, India, Turkey, Poland, and several Middle Eastern and Latin America countries, have reported sizable additions to their gold reserves, often buying steadily even during periods of high prices. So Goldman forecasts an average central bank purchases of around 60 tons per month in 2026, mainly by emerging markets. That's how they got to their $5,400 price target. They also said the sustained private sector interest as key catalysts.
Everybody's afraid. So they're just holding on to gold. How's Bitcoin doing?
Bitcoin, it's interesting that you mentioned that. Bitcoin was okay here this morning, down 1.5%, lost 90K on the futures. It had recaptured that. We lost that again here this morning. So Bitcoin actually at the lows here today. Interestingly enough, VIX down to 16. Looks like it's trying to bounce from 16. Remember, that printed 21.
I'm being requested to provide some crazy levels for SXTP. So
let's do it.
You shall receive. It looks to me like, I don't know how crazy this level is, but if we continue to climb here, I really like where this 200-day EMA is. So the value of that is 1061. Looking to the left, you can see that 1050 was a pretty tough resistance area that was previously support earlier in 2025. So when we lost this level, there's been multiple times where it's tried to come back up here and hold above 1050, but unable to do so. Comes right back underneath it, following these moves that take course over the take effect over the course of a week. It looks like, and then we really started to come in July. Haven't been up in that area since. So I do like that 1050 area, along with the 200 EMA. That's going to be one area that could be crazy. Now, let's say we go past that. What's another crazy area that's beyond that? I kind of like 1250 and 1480 after that, maybe even 1450. Those look to me to be the next areas above the 200 EMA that could find resistance.
I'll tell you what, that 14 to 15 area sure looks juicy too if it can get above. I know that would be about a double from here, but we'll see. Izzy's right. Market is pulling here. The NASDAQ had started pulling earlier, but now the SPY and the Dow rejoining that. The SPY is still higher by 0.36%, Dow still higher by 0.45%, but they are off their highs. NASDAQ also still in the green by 0.37%.
Yeah, I have no open positions right now.
Yeah, me either. Well, on the shorter term trades.
Right. That's all I'm referring to. I mean, I've got a ton of positions in long-term trades, but
Moderna, this is one that we talked about. This has been on a massive, massive run. This actually looks like maybe 52 and a half, 53. Possible move higher here if it can take that out. That's mRNA Moderna.
I think we're going to hit that 500-day SMA and the mid channel. Because remember, we talked about this one yesterday and provided a chart that shows that this price action since January of 2022 has been trading inside of a parallel channel. So I think that 500-day SMA is definitely a spot that we're going to be heading to. We're not too far away from it either, just $6 at this stage. So I think we could certainly hit it. Now, once we do, being that we're already pretty extended on the RSI, if we do hit that 500-day SMA, I think that we're going to see some selling that's going to take that RSI down. So if we do get up there, I think initially we're going to get the resistance, probably see some selling. The next visit that we come up to with the 500-day SMA, maybe we break through it. I mean, this thing looks like it wants to go higher, but I don't think it's going to do that while the RSI is extended. I think that needs to cool off first. If that makes any sense.
Ben, nice win using Pro there. You do
right.
it on all different types of stocks. SXTP looks to be the catalyst here today. That thing really went.
All right. Yeah, I'm just reading what he typed there. That's great. I like it. I like that we're getting all the information. Oh, look at CMCT. It just suddenly blasted through 5 and then came right back in.
Okay, so that was a move through the VWAP there, trying to test a little bit higher. RCAT here. This is another drone stock. This is actually having a nice day. It's up 8.5% compared to Ondas, which is actually still green by 1.2%, given the offering there. Not bad. There indeed, Zach. There's a battle there on Ondas.
Let me look at Ondas. I'm going to see what's happening there with this one. Well, it looks like you're getting some pretty good support from the $12/20-day SMA area. That's I like the formation of this this chart since actually since the beginning of the year. We got what looks to be a bull flag to me. Now with all the upper shadows on the top of this thing, it's certainly trying to get over 14 and having a hard time with it. But I think we've got what, like one close over $14. That was the first time we got up there. That was on January 8th. I don't think we've had a close over 14 since. That's the level. 14. Yeah. We need to see a close over 14.
Yeah, I would actually amend that and say 14 to 15, but you're right, 13. That $14 level looks pretty key from the daily chart here.
No, and absolutely, I do like 15. That's a major resistance area, but I think it's interesting that we're not seeing closes above 14. And I think if we do start to see closes over 14, that could be the indicator that this is going to go higher.
Okay. I'll tell you what, I mean, I think what you're looking at here, let me actually just kind of draw this. Like, come on, what happened here?
Well, I'm not using any trend lines or anything. I'm just
no. I'm just trying to. I selected the trend line, but I think I'm just trying to draw the shape here of what you're looking at. Yeah. So we're wondering if it holds this area, if this is the flag where we can go higher from here. So next move, hopefully up towards 16, breaking that 14 and 15 resistance areas.
I mean, I think that it's already shown that it's behaving with the technicals very well. When the price came down earlier this week and went under 12, what caught it was the October highs. That came in and provided some support. So behaving very well with the technicals. And I think that if we do end up starting to close over 14 again, that's going to be the signal that, that this is going to go higher.
Okay, and then on the flip side there, I would say if you lose maybe 1187, Zach, I know that you had said earlier your load zone there probably 1170, so maybe back that off a little bit. Let's call it 1150 to 1175. If we can hold that area, maybe we do go higher. But if we break down from there, we might test single digits again. Ondas, relatively strong here today, given the offering news. All right, NUAI, how we doing on that? Another leg higher here. Day traders 10 to 12 might happen today. Or we're only 90 cents away now.
Oh, that's wild.
Guys, we're mentioning, let's take a look at some of those memory names, see how they're doing. So Micron sold off a little bit. I would agree with Jay. This does kind of feel like profit taking rather than like a sell-off, if you will. Back down here to 380. Mud is the play on that. I'm still in this here, down a little bit. Haven't really added yet. Don't have great conviction that Micron's really going to turn around. But a nice little pop here on Mud today.
Did Micron get to 400 in the pre-market? It did. I think that's why one of the reasons why we're seeing the selling, because that's been a price target for a lot of people. I think even folks here in the in our chat, getting to 400. That's where a lot of people were looking at this. Now, I still think this could go a lot higher, but as I've been making the case for the entirety of the week, I think that, and maybe into last week, it needs to cool off. I would like to see this cool off a bit, maybe come back in, and then it can rip past 400 and do whatever it wants. But I don't like these just continued sustained moves to the upside without some backing off. So that got to, whenever you jump, you got to kind of recoil your position to make that jump. So that's all I'm looking for, is a bit of recoil here before we jump higher.
Okay. Real quick here, Izzy saying the roads are bad here. Daniel saying, how's the snow? I think it's even worse than us here in Michigan with the snow. I'll be honest, the snow's not bad. We got a little bit of a dusting last night, but it's not the snow that we're worried about here. It's the extreme cold. Tomorrow we are looking at a high of -8. That's right,
Yeah.
a high of -8.
Wow. Stay warm, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, I will. It's just the energy bills are gonna be more expensive.
Oh, okay. So who's your utility provider?
ComEd.
And what's their ticker?
I don't think they have one.
I'm just messing.
I still think the playoff, that's probably the natural gas trade that we've talked about.
Yeah, Lion, it's totally going to go past 400, and I just it can be profit taking that's causing this downside move, but one way or the other, we need to see this cool off, because if we don't, and it just keeps ripping, when it does sell, it's going to be a steeper sell off. So don't want that to happen. CRML and quadruple U going up. Oh yeah. Duke is a great energy play. I've owned Duke for years. I agree.
I think ComEd may be owned by Exelon, EXC.
I mean,
that's a good question. I should know.
If you're gonna pay these
six regulated utilities in Illinois, Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey, Delaware, and Washington, D.C.
I mean, this is okay. So if you're gonna pay these utility companies, you may as well own them to get some of your money back, right?
Actually, that's not a bad plan. I wonder if they pay a dividend. I wonder if I could have a sizable enough position to have my energy bills paid for by the dividend.
Well, it probably require a significant investment, but
yeah.
But still, I mean, if to offset that, maybe hedge your utility bill, not a bad idea if the company's good.
Company does pay a 3.35% dividend.
There you go.
Really quickly here, just passing along some really good dad advice. Keep a small stream of water running so that your pipes don't freeze, because frozen pipes are not fun. Quick story time here real quick. The last time I was actually staying at my mom's house, this was years ago, and there was a negative 10-degree day and the pipes froze. And I'm in the crawl space for her. She's old. She can't do this. And my father passed away a long time ago. So I'm in the crawl space for her with a hairdryer, heating up this pipe. And it freeze. At one point, I break the ice, but I don't melt all of the ice. So when the pipe unfroze, the pressure pushed the ice chunks into the water meter, which exploded. It The water meter covered me in water. Mind you, in the crawl space, it's still like 0 degrees. So I am covered in freezing water and I know it's going to freeze. I go inside. I'm like wiping myself off. I had to call the utility company so they could come out and replace the water meter because you can't do it yourself. Just passing through's advice here is extremely good. Fixing a broken pipe or a frozen pipe in negative degree weather is not a fun task. I've done it myself. It sucks. Don't let it happen to you. Don't let it happen to you. Anyway.
We have to do the drip here as well this weekend because it's going to be below freezing.
Yeah, and actually my buddy that lives in South Carolina says they're expecting ice and snow, which they're not used to.
Yeah, we might get some snow.
Yeah, Arkansas, my buddy in Arkansas said he's excited for the snow that's apparently coming this weekend. So, okay, CRML, several of you folks were talking about this one. This continues to make new highs here. We'll see if that can test 18.
I really hope the gentleman or lady that was in our happy hour chat that was distressed about how much this had sold off following those moves in October. They were holding it and we were asking if this was going to come back up. And I was like, hey, look, this whole trade situation with China is not done. So anything that we do that could potentially upset them, or and there's also this whole issue's been pushed out for a year, so it's going to come back anyway. Hopefully, they're doing much better because we have recaptured 16, which is a big resistance area. So hopefully, they're doing well.
Yeah. Josh, Greenville, South Carolina, that's actually right around where my buddy lives, is going to get hit with an ice storm this weekend. And I mean, like, they're actually worried about losing power, and they've got very young children there where that's not going to be palatable. So I just hope everyone, you guys, everyone included, you're able to make it through this without too much issue. Also, by the way, Corvus, we talked about this one. They did the offering there. $22.15 was the offering price. They offered 7.9 million shares. That's closed up. Stock is actually higher now here, $24.35.
Here's an interesting play that we could do on the cold weather that's apparently across most of the nation. This happened last time we had a major freeze. LESL, which provides pool supply components. We had a lot of broken pipes and from people that had pools. This stock ended up doing really well with following the events of that freeze that I think was in 2022. So just keep this on your radar. Don't know if it's if we're gonna get the same kind of movement. I think I could even show you the day that this happened. Back when we got that freeze. Let me see. I have to go back quite a ways. I don't think I can find it. But anyway, just keep an eye on this one because if we do get broken pipes, this is going to be one of those companies, and they are a pool parts supplier.
Okay. Yes, Izzy, I would advise letting your faucets drip a little bit. I do that. I have been doing that since I was a little kid. Learned that from my old man when I was a little kid, and that was a really good piece of advice. All right, Staff Sergeant Ryan, nice to see you again. Thank you for everything, as always. Asking here about Netflix, which we just talked about. Here's the thing on Netflix, just to kind of reiterate. Yes, we are looking to see if this low 80s holds here, but we're being a little bit conservative with this. 13, you just gave a great breakdown here about how the regulatory process could be messy and could take a while. I get why this is really appealing, though. I mean, the RSI is just completely in the toilet down here at 20. It does look like maybe a short-term bounce. And in fact, 13, you were also talking about if we do get a bounce, maybe we bounce back up towards 100. But this area right here, Rye, this is the area we're absolutely looking at. I wouldn't even say 82. I would say the entire area between 80 and 82. Can we hold this? If so, perhaps we bounce. I would use some of these moving averages as targets. First one there is going to be that 50-day at 98.24.
That's a good mention, Jamin Generac. This isn't the time that I would necessarily think that to do this one. I think Generac tends to do better during the hurricane season. There's a bit of seasonality to be had with this one. But you're right. This has been doing well since the news of this Arctic blast started, making headlines. So it's come up off of the 140 area, now at 177. This also looks like we could go maybe a little bit further before this is going to start selling some more, because the RSI is getting pretty extended. Maybe this goes to 200 before that happens. I don't know. But yeah, good mention on Generac. I think this one is probably a better play for the hurricane season, though. Let's look at what happened last year following that April Liberation Day unwind. This thing went from 100 to 200, a nice 100% gain there, within this, an 8-month, or not even that long, 4-month period.
Real quick here, SXTP looks like that's breaking down here. I've got VWAP at 542. We'll see if it gets down there. And then real quick here, True Lane. This is summed up very well. Leave a small stream running on every faucet constantly while it's cold. The $5 more in the water bill is much cheaper than the repair. You are absolutely right about that. I would add to that it's much easier than the repair, especially if you're trying to repair that in just ridiculously cold temperatures. So it looks like this is pretty universal across the board here. Universal across the board. Also, really quickly here, Matt said up 1,700 on a new trade mindset. We're going to give you a register ring for that. Well done. Buffalo by Bicycle said, I took inspiration from you, Ryan. I started walking out in the snow. How's it going for you? I suggest the thermal layer under the long underwear and the shirt. That really helps. I use, yeah, that's absolutely what I use. I get them from Costco. The brand's 32 degree cool. It's cheap and effective, and it allows you to really kind of be out there. Let me ask you, Buffalo by Bicycle, do your neighbors look at you like you're a psychopath, like mine do? You'll have to let me know. I can't wait to be out there on Friday. I can't wait to be out there on Friday and people being like, this guy is nuts. Y'all already think I'm nuts, though, so we're good.
Looking at Lord of the Rings, this might be the Return of the King.
Oh, that is well done. Hang on.
It's coming back up towards the 65 EMA, where we had that resistance around, the 650 from some of the lows in the pre-market after we had the impulse move. So coming back up to the 65 EMA, after that, VWAP would be up at around 715. So next two upside resistance areas that we got to take out if we're going to see some more upside. If we capture those, I would be looking at 8 as the big resistance area following those moving average and the VWAP.
Okay. Okie dokie.
It looks like we're just going sideways with a lot of these, though, right now.
And I haven't seen really anything crazy off the unusual option activity scanner today. Been kind of keeping my eye out on it. I did see these app calls. This was a closing trade, though. App actually, remember, so we had a short report on this yesterday, I believe. Let me double check the day there. The days are blending together here. It was Tuesday. I beg your pardon. It was Tuesday. App Lovin', it was Capital Watch that did the short report here. They said, quote, the Southeast Asian money laundering syndicate's NASDAQ laundromat. Not a great description there. Nonetheless, this thing has moved lower since that short report. And looking at the daily chart here, yep, we're coming into a spot. So, Lion, I know you were talking about long in this one. We are pretty much right at the 200 EMA. We are also right at the previous low. This was from November. This actually looks like a double top here. I tell you what, this app could go either way.
That short report sounds like they wanted to use even stronger language. Just the way it reads, it's the words that they use. They really wanted to call this thing some awful names.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. They tried to make that hyperbole. That's for sure.
The thing that's I'd be concerned about is how we have a double top here.
Yeah,
and I don't think that this is done being. We haven't even begun to resolve this yet. I think let's see where this could go. If we do that, and then we do this, this might be around. This might come down to some of the prices from around Liberation Day last year. Maybe the 240s. You can get cut in half.
Oh man, Lion doesn't want to hear that.
Let's see what happens around the 200-day SMA. I think that's going to be the big line in the sand. If we start losing that, then we're going to come down. I would say at least to 400. But worst case scenario, it gets cut in half.
Shady was asking if I saw your comment. I did. I wasn't sure what to make of it. My wife has a friend in Wisconsin that told her they got a warning to watch for exploding trees because of the freezing. So the water in the tree gets so cold that it expands and explodes the tree. Gotta say, I've never seen that. Thankfully, watch out for exploding trees, I guess.
No way it'll be 240 an app. Okay. I mean, like I said, let's see what happens when we get to the 200-day SMA and see what it does. But this double top, I mean, that's not looking bullish to me. 200-day SMA is a big spot too. It's the last time we were selling off back in February of last year. 200-day SMA is where it got support. So if that fails, I think that's a bad sign.
PSQH, this is one of the movers here that on the Trump National Library, no upside movement here at all. This thing has pretty much retraced its entire move.
Oh, it tacoed.
Well, I don't know if it did that. I mean, it folded like a chair. That's what it did. Came pretty much all the way back in. CMCT, this is still beneath 5. That doesn't look all that great. CRML, this made a good move earlier. Still has some strength here as this trades above 1750. Tell you what, I don't see anything great for a new trade setup here. I wonder maybe SXTP if it holds in here. I don't know though.
I haven't taken anything new, so it's you're right. It's lots of sideways price action. Nothing's really setting up too well. Just kind of sitting around waiting for something to emerge.
Netflix, maybe Netflix here. And when I say maybe, I'm talking about just kind of a short-term trade. Maybe it's kind of holding the same area that it reversed yesterday. It's about what, 83 and change. Maybe Netflix here, although I don't feel great about that one either.
James, I like that idea. For AppLovin, he's also saying the 200-day is his line in the sand as well. He's going to start buying on the reclaim. I think that's smart. Recapturing the 200 after we lose, after we lose it, I think that's a good sign that it's going to come back up. So we'll see if that ends up happening. SL, no, man, none of these look great. None of these look great right now. CMCT trying to do something here, but it's been in the same range since we opened regular session, only coming down to about the 410 area, maybe $4. That's the support. Resistance up near 580. It's kind of in that range right now and compressing. So I think a direction is going to get chosen soon.
Okay. And then Izzy, you were asking for that 200-day moving average value here on Netflix. I've got that value here, 113. We are significantly beneath that.
Redwire up over 9.5%. That Redwire has been, it was great last week when we got up to, over $12, but haven't been able to get back up there. And I'm a little bit concerned that it's starting to weaken. So we could see Redwire pull back a little bit here. And if it does, I want to see if it's going to hold above the 500-day SMA.
Real quick, Staff Sergeant Ryan, regarding Boeing, which do love for pretty much all of 2026 here, we're actually coming up to a test. So you're saying here, if we close above 250 but below 252, you see a possible hammer indicator. Okay, all of that's fine, but to me, it really sure seems like this 256 area, this trend line, and when did we originate this one? This one goes back. Yeah, this is from the first high from the recovery, the COVID recovery. We've basically connected some other highs here. In 13, I'd love to get your opinion on this. To me, if we take out this trend, this sure points to more highs, 300 plus, if we're able to get above this. So really, it seems to me like this 256 area.
Yeah, I can see that. Ideally, we would get through that trend line and then back test it as support. But I think what's going to happen is we're going to end up going up there and then getting rejected by it. With the way the RSI is extended, and we've had this really nice run from about 175, nice $75 run. I think that this is going to have to cool off at some point soon. I think that we're nearing a short-term top. Now, if this does start to come back in, the 20-day SMA is in a real nice spot for support. It lines up with some of the prices from August that could also provide support. So between 230 and 240, you might see that support kick in when it pulls back. So that's kind of what I'd be looking at right now. We're just a little bit extended, and hopefully we don't get some price action similar to December of 2023, where we went on a similar run up to this very same trend line and then just absolutely sold off. So hopefully we don't get that, but I do think that we are getting up to a point where we could see the price reverse.
Yeah, I'm hoping for the exact same thing here, 13. In fact, while you were going through that, I basically extended the support trend line that we're looking at. Note that the last time we went up and tested this trend line, that rejection that you're talking about here, we came back in and tested the support trend line twice before moving back up to the top end of that range. So I want to see if this happens again. Now, I know I have another trend line here that we crossed, so perhaps we're really kind of breaking that. The intersection of those two trend lines is where the most recent high was. I'm optimistic about breaking this, but I would concur with 13. This, to me, looks like an area of resistance. We've made a pretty big run pretty quickly here, so maybe there will be a bit of a pause there on Boeing. 256 is the area.
Looks like CMCT is finally choosing a direction. It's trying to break out. Hasn't hit the pre-market high yet, but it's very close. Looking at for 6. Okay, now we just hit the pre-market high. So looking to see if we can push higher into 6 here. If we back off, support appears to be down around 510.
CMCT, this actually ended up being all right. Not a whole lot on these movers here today, but this one actually not terrible.
Yeah, lots of back and forth, provided some pretty decent trades. Now it's got a new session high. Good to see. High roller back up here at the 200 EMA on the 5-minute. This has been where the price has been getting suppressed all morning following the breakdown beneath it around 4:30. And UAI looks like this wants to try and push into new session highs. All right, so there's CMCT approaching 6, getting pretty close now.
This is an interesting. I've been thinking about this too, Lion, and I kind of go back and forth. Lion here saying next month tax refunds start coming, and the Fed is going to start injecting liquidity in the market, and the market is going to start flying. Anyone else think the same thing? And then, Lion, I would ask, providing that your thesis plays out, what are your targets for that market flying environment? What would you be looking? Just the same things that you're trading? Are there new trades that you'd be looking at or looking for? Let me know.
It was asked about CRVS and this company's support and resistance levels. Resistance, I mean, we're in blue sky territory and we're very extended, so resistance could be anywhere up here. But for support, the two areas I'd be looking at are going to be, I'd say 22 and 20 look like support areas if the price starts to come back down.
This is CRVS, right? Sorry, I didn't change the ticker.
Yeah, CRVS. But I don't know where the resistance is. I mean, it looks like $25 is kind of giving some resistance there, but this thing is very extended, 92.5 on the RSI. It certainly has to come back down, and I wouldn't be surprised if it blew through a couple of those levels that I just gave. But those are the next two support areas that I see from up here.
Day Trader asks, is that why Cohen doubled down on GME? When you say is that, are you referring to the tax refunds or the tax season? What are you referring to?
Roller just blew through the 200 EMA, coming up to some resistance around 1060.
Okay, here's that VWAP test that we were waiting for. Remember, it did this twice in the pre-market. It's peaking above it. Let's see if we can actually move from here. This was a good call, 13. Let's see if we can get it rolling here on roller.
We're getting CMCT to pull back now after hitting 592. Let's see if VWAP supports it.
Volume actually looking pretty good on this roller move too. So 13. Let me tell you something. This moved through here. The way I would trade this is I just wouldn't want to deal with the pullback beneath VWAP. So I would stop here at VWAP. This is continuing. This might be an opportune time to maybe raise those stops to lock that in. 13. Also, really good timing on this one, dude.
No problem. Keep an eye on SXTP as well. This has moved back up to its VWAP. It's trying to recapture that. If we get a little bit more volume expansion, I think we could get back up to 8. Just looking around, see what else is looking good here. Wow, energy transfer is almost up to 18. Nice. All right, looking around.
Lion says energy, healthcare, and metals is my focus this year.
I think that's the way to go. It's going to be a lot
energy for sure. Yeah.
Energy. I mean, and it's not limited to just like natural gas or oil or whatever. I think that's going to also be solar energy and battery storage energy. So those are going to certainly be some things to keep an eye on. And I think that's why we're going to get the battery theme. Solar farms continue to spring up on a monthly basis. Energy in general, not just oil. And here we go with high roller. We're over 11 now. Next resistance looks to be about 1150.
Tell you what, that roller trade working, that SXTP not working the same way. Roller finally through the VWAP here. It worked. It is. I agree, Wiss. Indeed, it's looking better. By the way, Wiss, enjoy your vacation. Let me know what golf courses you played out in Florida. Nice job here for whoever was trading roller. Oh, yeah. That was a good move.
Sir. Now I'm just looking for the next thing that's going to start moving here. And I'm not sure if there's a whole lot at the moment. I mean, it's looking to see if NITO would go, but that doesn't have a whole lot of great volume. But if it does, 215 is the next resistance area on that one.
Every time I hear this ticker, I think of the tire company, which is NITTO. Every time. Has nothing to do with it.
And we are getting pretty close to that time where volume is going to leave the market as if it hasn't already started. So CMCT trying to make the next push here. I don't know if it's going to get beyond 565. We'll see. We'll see if it does. Yeah, I'm not sure. Not seeing anything that's really exciting me at the moment. Maybe SXTP with this VWAP recapture, but volume, man. Volume is not around right now, it seems.
No, it isn't. And the volume showed up in roller, which is probably why we got that move, but it seems to be limited to that name.
And then it's completely sold off once we got to that 1150 area. Yeah. So folks are not wanting to stick around. But I'm glad you guys did.
Always glad you did. By the way, smash up that like for our guy 13.
Have I ever bought ENS? No, I don't think I did. I can't buy everything. Man, ENS, look at this.
Yeah, I have the same problem. SXTP really pulling no.
This looks like this had what, like a 100% move since April? More than that. Looks like once it hits 180, it's going to do one. Getting pretty extended up here. What is this one that they do? Electrical equipment. Okay, so stored energy. So this is kind of like a battery company. Yeah, that's what this is.
ANET, by the way, this pared back its the gains it made from the open, basically right down to the area in the pre-market that we launched from.
And I do have ENS on my battery watch list, so it's not off my radar. But the one that's having the best moves today is ENPH. It's up over 6%.
Bitcoin, weak. One of our risk on indicators, weak here today. Bitcoin snapping 89K to the downside now.
Yeah, we have some of those, Buffalo. These little solar power banks. There's a small devices you set out on your dashboard of your car while you're driving or whatever, and you have a whole battery pack there for your phone to charge, any game devices, all that good stuff.
And they make like those portable power packs that you can like take camping, right? That you like set up outside. They've got, so I was thinking about that, to being able to use a pressure washer anywhere, but that's just, I'm crazy. So
I'm not going to be pressure washing when I go camping.
I would. I'm not talking about the use for camping. I'm just talking about another use.
Gotcha.
Mobile detailing business. You can just carry your own water and power pack, and then you can do it anywhere.
Gotcha. CMCT still trying to fight for some more highs. And that roller came right in, went right back beneath the 200 EMA. ENPH got an upgrade this morning. Okay, that makes sense why it's up then. Does healthcare have any decent value picks? Well, I mean, I know some people are going to probably, want to point in the direction of United Health, but I'm not sure about some of these healthcare stocks just yet. And the reason for that is
I've got a list for you whenever you're ready.
I just want to see what's going to happen with all of this Medicare and Medicaid investigations that a lot of these companies are having to deal with. Are they going to lose the Medicare Advantage program? Lots of question marks for me. Health insurance isn't necessarily where I want to be right now. But I do like the medical device side. I absolutely love the medical device side right now. I think that's going to be one of the biggest benefactors of AI. Go ahead. Sorry, listen to me.
It's okay. First of all, I had an article that I covered during the news section here on some of the healthcare. This came from Stephen Hemsley, who was the chairman and CEO of United Health Group. I dropped that in the chat for anyone that's interested. But also, I used the Benzinga Pro scanner here to very quickly get what he was asking for there. I basically filtered it by sector healthcare, and then I added the value ranking and then sorted it in descending order. So my top value stocks here in the healthcare sector are Arcadia Healthcare, ticker ACH. It's got a value score of 94.87. FONR, InMode is in here. So these are not necessarily the healthcare names that you're looking for. But if I keep going down the list, Dr. Reddy is in here. Molina Healthcare, which we've talked about a number of times on this show. This has a very high value score in the 82 percentile. So Humana's up here, 78 percentile, I believe, 77 percentile for value. So there's actually a way to do this here in Benzinga Pro, and you can kind of whittle this list down from what you get here, determining on what you like. Like 13, you talked about medical devices. Maybe there's a medical device company on this list that you would prefer to trade. So it goes to show you, Power Pro.
Yeah, I like Medtronic. MRK that the Lions talk about, I'm in that one as well. That one's been great. Daniel mentioning CMCT that did start to push up towards the session high. Needs some more volume here, but we are trading into a bit of an ascending triangle. So it'd be interesting to see if we can break over 6 here. Now iSurge, ISRG. I think that's the medical device company that uses robots for surgery over the internet, right? So that would be up in there. I do like that technology as well. But when it comes to the medical device that I like the most, it's the diagnostics. So Medtronic's going to be one of them. Abbott Labs. Abbott Labs is a great one.
I like that for 2026 too. You got me on that one.
Yeah, I think Abbott Labs is going to have a good year. basically the ones that are utilizing AI in their devices, especially imaging devices. I think those are going to be great. But yeah, ISRG, that's a good one too.
All right, 13, we're out of time here. Let's do the wrap up before we sign off. Let's take a look at some of these movers here today. Not a great day for the movers, it turns out. SXTP, this did give us a move out of the open, but after that move was done, so too was the stock move in here. So SXTP, maybe this firms up here. Maybe it comes back into the VWAP. Any thought on this one, 13?
Well, just in general, when it comes to the movers that we had here today, we did get some decent trades, some right out of the gate, others we had to wait for. But, you're right. It was pretty muted. And I think that we'll still be able to get some movement here throughout the day. But good job on everybody not jumping back into this when they pulled back. The discipline was really shown today. As far as SXTP goes, that VWAP is going to have to get captured. That's the big line in the sand right now. If we get over that, I think we could get back up into the 8 handle. But if we continue to be rejected, then I think we're coming down to 550, maybe lower.
And you can use the volume as a key to tell you if this might move to the upside. So if you keep this on the back burner for the afternoon, just pay attention to the volume. IOTR, IO3, we affectionately call it Lord of the Rings. Really nothing here today. This thing sunk back below the VWAP in the pre-market. Did not really bounce from its 65 EMA. Sure, it's come into its 200 EMA. Maybe it gets rolling here. I guess you could do the same thing, watch the volume on this, but really no move here, IOTR.
This was weak going into the open here. We did get a pop that took it up to VWAP, was rejected there, lost a lot of the EMAs that we use, and now we're just kind of hanging out down around the 200 EMA. If we do get a reversal here, it's going to come off of the 200 EMA, and we're going to want to see a recapture of that 65 and the VWAP right after that. But if we lose this 200 EMA, then we're probably going to end up coming down to 4. And you'll probably just want to, at that point, look at something else to find a trade for, because going under the 200 EMA might be, the worst thing it's going to experience for the rest of the day.
Okay. Next here is going to be CMCT. This also gave a trade here. This is a nice on the move right back through the VWAP. Did kind of find some resistance here at the pre-market high. But what do you think? You think we might have more in CMCT here today?
If we can start closing over, I would say 550. That seems to be the spot where, even though we print above it, we can't seem to close above it. If we can start closing above 550, there should be some 6 prints coming. But same thing with a lot of these others. If we start losing that VWAP, which we could pretty soon here, then there may be some more downside to the point where it takes us all the way down to the 65 EMA. So that's what I'd be watching for. If we lose VWAP, the stock would start to sell a little bit. But if we hold above VWAP, I'd be wanting to see a close above 550 and then a $6 print.
Okay, good stuff there. CMCT. Next on the list here is, in fact, Roller. This did give us one move, very, very short-lived, back in beneath the VWAP. You think we get another one, 13?
Maybe we'll see something like that happen in the afternoon when volume returns, because volume is leaving the market right now. So I wouldn't be expecting a lot of great moves from some of these. Maybe the really low float names that have under 1 million shares, we could probably see some moves, but if they have larger floats, then I don't know that we're going to see necessarily fireworks. The big thing for this one is getting above that 200 EMA. If you look at a 5-minute chart that we use, that 200 EMA was broken through about 20 minutes ago, and that's the best movement we've had. So we really need to get above the 200 EMA if we're going to see any more upside prints over 11 or 1050. But if we can't, probably just going to end up going sideways, maybe a little bit lower.
And then the last one here, GLSI, Greenwich Life Sciences. Actually, a pretty good catalyst here on the FDA approval of the company's use of one of its commercially manufactured drugs, but the reaction here, the trading action here, not great. We did have one bounce out of the open towards the VWAP, couldn't quite get it, rejected, went lower. This thing's almost round tripped the entire pre-market move.
It has completely round tripped. We're back. It went all the way down to the closing print. So this is giving everything back. It could literally do whatever it wants, and it wouldn't surprise me. So it could turn back up and recapture some of these levels that it's been losing. I could certainly see that happen, or it could go sideways and not do anything for the rest of the day. I could certainly see that happen. But if the bottoming action here around 2250, that certainly looks interesting. So if we are going to see some upside with this, first thing that needs to happen is a recapture of that 200 EMA, and that's going to be at about $25.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, 13 really good stuff here today. Any final words for the group?
Folks, wonderful day trading with you all again, and really great discipline on staying out of the names that didn't seem to be working and capturing those gains in the ones that did. Let's come back here tomorrow. We'll do it all over again, and then we'll have a great weekend, baby. So take care, everybody. Have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow.
All right, 13, take care. We'll close the week out strong with you tomorrow. Folks, we're done here for today. Another good Thursday here. Market looks like it's cooperating, and we're curling back up. So maybe we actually take 690. That's it for us here today. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. We'll see